Chapter 2366. Rumble. The time compass emitted a bright and eternal light, like an eternal sun hanging high in the vast void, instantly illuminating the endless darkness and the starry sky. A huge finger flew out from the time compass, containing a vast emperor's might. It was as if an ancient great emperor had walked out from the ancient times. His white hair fluttered in the wind, and his eyes were like the starry sky. The surrounding heaven and earth shook at the same time, and the vast light suddenly became as bright as day. The finger pointed at Heavenly Lord's 7 emotions and 6 desires. It was like a divine sword that reached the heavens, but also like an immortal mountain, containing a power fluctuation that could destroy heaven and earth. Heavenly Lord's 7 emotions and 6 desires felt that the surrounding time and space seemed to have stopped. The world was destroyed, and tens of thousands of creatures had fallen. In the endless river of time, only this finger had become eternal. Time extinction finger. Ling Xiao's eyes were sharp, containing a cold killing intent as he whispered to himself. Old man Tian Dao had intercepted the power of the flowing time emperor's attack and integrated it into the time compass, turning it into the time extinction finger. At this critical moment, Ling Xiao had finally used it. This is the all-out attack of the Supreme Great Emperor. How can you have such power? Heavenly Lord's 7 emotions and 6 desires expression changed drastically, and a trace of fear involuntarily appeared in her eyes. Even if she was a Heavenly Lord expert and was only a thin layer away from the Supreme Emperor realm, as if she could touch the Emperor's path at any time and step into the Imperial Emperor realm, she couldn't help but tremble like an ant in the face of the time extinction finger. Everyone below the Emperor realm was an ant, and even a Heavenly Lord wouldn't be surprised. Crack. The time extinction finger swept across the sky and destroyed everything in an instant. All of Heavenly Lord's 7 emotions and 6 desires resistance was like a bubble that quickly burst. Heavenly Lord's 7 emotions and 6 desires palm shattered, and the finger fell directly on her forehead. Mysterious ripples of time spread out, causing the surrounding void to tremble at the same time. Heavenly Lord's 7 emotions and 6 desires eyes were filled with horror. Her mouth was wide open, and her whole body burst like a bubble. It was as if the Heavenly Lord of 7 emotions and 6 desires had completely disappeared from this world. The power of the age annihilation finger radiated through Lord of 7 emotions and 6 desires toward the vast starry sky. Dozens of supreme stars within a radius of 1,000,000 miles turned into dust at the same time. As expected of the age extinction finger. Celestial lords of 7 emotions and 6 desires should be dead, right? Ling Xiao's eyes were also filled with incomparable shock. The cultivation method of the age extinguishing finger was recorded in the age of time, but Ling Xiao had never thought that it would be so terrifying and domineering. This was the all-out attack of the flowing time emperor. Even though Heavenly Lord's 7 emotions 6 desires was only a step away from the emperor realm, he was instantly obliterated like an ant. Ling Xiao staggered a little, his face slightly pale. In the battle with Lord of 7 emotions and 6 desires, he had suffered heavy injuries and lost a lot of his blood essence and life origin. However, he also breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. He had finally killed Lord of 7 emotions and 6 desires. Moreover, Jin Sei's tribulation seemed to be coming to an end. Ling Xiao could see that the thunderbolts in the sky had disappeared. A mysterious and holy light of the great path enveloped Jin Sei, causing her to exude an ethereal aura. The corners of Jin Sei's mouth curled into a faint smile. The originally icy expression on her face slowly melted and was filled with endless gentleness. Ling Xiao's heart couldn't help but tremble. Could Jin Sei really recover her memory? Oh no! Ling Xiao's face suddenly changed. Without thinking, he waved his sleeve and rolled Jin Sei up. He then used the Great Void Shift technique to leave this place. He felt a fatal threat approaching. The threat was even more terrifying than that of Lord of 7 emotions and 6 desires. It made his whole body numb. The age extinction finger had been used, and Ling Xiao was seriously injured. At this time, even if a Saint King realm expert came, Ling Xiao would have a hard time dealing with it. He guessed that it was very likely that the battle between him and Lord of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires had attracted the attention of the Almighty of the Demon Realm. Ling Xiao, since you have already come to my demon realm, why are you in such a hurry to leave? An old and indifferent voice rang out in the starry sky. It was incomparably clear and transmitted into Ling Xiao's ears. Rumble. The surrounding starry sky suddenly exploded. The sky shook, and black demonic light surged like a curtain covering the sky. It formed a huge boundary, blocking Ling Xiao's path. An old man in gray robes suddenly appeared in the void. His entire body exuded an unfathomable aura. His eyes seemed to contain 2 devouring vortexes that could devour everything. It was a soul-stirring sight. His appearance made Ling Xiao feel a fatal crisis. Open for me. Ling Xiao didn't even look back. His eyes were full of coldness. The time compass once again bloomed with bright light and blasted toward the huge boundary in front of him. Crack! Black demonic light surged, and the black boundary shook violently. However, what made Ling Xiao's heart sink was that he found that the boundary was incomparably sturdy. Even the time compass couldn't break it. Who are you? Ling Xiao turned his head and stared at the gray-robed old man. At the same time, his whole body was on guard. In the demon realm, they all call me Yuanlu Demon King. And Lord of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires, who just died at your hands, is my junior sister. I really didn't expect that you would have the chrono finger left behind by the flowing time Great Emperor. However, that's all you have, right? The gray-robed old man said indifferently. Yuanlu Demon King. You can try. Let's see if you can block the chrono finger. Ling Xiao's heart sank, but on the surface, he didn't show it. In the demon realm, those who could be called demon kings were supreme experts whose cultivation had stepped into the imperial emperor realm. Each of them was a peerless figure who could control the life and death of all living beings. Ling Xiao didn't expect that Lord of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires had a senior brother. If that was the case, could their master be the unparalleled demon emperor? This was definitely the biggest crisis Ling Xiao had ever encountered. The reason why Yuanlu Demon King didn't immediately attack was probably because he had seen the power of the chrono finger. He was afraid, so he spoke to test Ling Xiao. This kind of verbal confrontation was much more dangerous than a real battle. The slightest carelessness would cause one to be smashed into pieces and die without a burial place. Chapter 2367. Is that so? Then I really want to test the power of the age-extinguishing finger. Go! Yuanlu Demon King's lips curled into a mocking smile. A bronze figurine appeared in his palm. In an instant, it expanded against the wind and turned into a burly warrior clad in bronze armor and wielding a long spear. His entire body exuded an immortal light. His eyes were filled with cold murderous intent. In an instant, he leaped into the air and thrust his long spear at Ling Xiao. He was indeed afraid of the age-extinguishing finger, but he was still a demon king. How could he be restrained because of fear? Although he didn't personally make a move, he had summoned a puppet magic treasure. The bronze warrior could unleash the power of a saint king at its strongest. Moreover, it was invulnerable and immortal. Ordinary saint kings were no match for this puppet. He wanted to use this bronze warrior to test how many trump cards Ling Xiao had. Kill! A sharp light flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes as he summoned the time compass and charged at the bronze warrior. At the same time, he activated the wordless heavenly book and began to extract the Zhou Tian's energy to quickly heal his injuries. Boom! 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 The time compass and the bronze warrior clashed in the void, causing a dazzling light to erupt. The bronze warrior didn't seem to be at a disadvantage at all. The time compass overflowed with Emperor's aura, which contained supreme divine power, causing cracks to appear on the bronze warrior's sturdy body. However, the cracks quickly healed. The bronze warrior roared and finally broke through the time compass's blockade and charged at Ling Xiao with the long spear in his hand. Dang! Ling Xiao threw out a punch and collided with the bronze spear. However, his expression changed as he felt a force that could topple mountains and overturn seas coming at him. It was extremely ferocious, and it was not weaker than his physical body at all. It directly sent him flying. Ling Xiao suddenly spat out another mouthful of blood, and his face became incomparably pale. He was already severely injured. Now that he was facing the bronze warrior with the power of a saint king, he was no match for it. Although he was barely able to fight, he was losing ground. This can't be. If this goes on, I will definitely die. We have to break this barrier. Ling Xiao thought to himself. Rumble. He collided with the bronze warrior again and was sent flying. Ling Xiao's eyes were instantly covered with a layer of madness. Terrifying divine light surged around him. He directly spat out a mouthful of his heart's blood and fused it with the time compass. At the same time, he activated the wordless heaven book and fused it with the time compass. The time compass seemed to have completely awakened. It shone brightly in the vast starry sky like a burning star and crashed into the barrier. Crack! This time, the incomparably sturdy barrier was unable to withstand the power of the time compass and exploded with a loud bang. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed, and he immediately used a teleportation secret technique to leave the starry sky. Demon King Yuanlu did not stop Ling Xiao. Instead, a faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. You really can't use the age extinction finger. Demon King Yuanlu's voice rang out, but it sounded like a clap of thunder in Ling Xiao's ears. Boom! He struck out with his palm, and it was as if the vast starry sky in the surroundings had instantly fallen into his palm. The endless spacetime folded and distorted, and it almost instantly traversed millions and millions of miles of void space, appearing behind Ling Xiao. This was a supreme divine ability. This was the power of a demon king. Although Ling Xiao did not know how Demon King Yuanlu found out that he could not use the age extinction finger, he knew that if he did not have a way to block it, he would definitely be smashed into pieces. Rumble. Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with madness. The time compass was majestic, and it blocked behind him like a mountain. Then, it violently collided with Demon King Yuanlu's palm. Endless divine light exploded, and the Extreme Emperor's aura swept out in all directions like a monstrous wave. Unsurprisingly, the time compass was directly sent flying by Demon King Yuanlu's palm. Ling Xiao's body trembled violently, as if he was about to explode. Dense cracks appeared on his body like a spiderweb. Blood flowed out, and his body became a bloody mess. Although the time compass blocked Demon King Yuanlu's palm, the rebounding force still caused Ling Xiao to suffer an unimaginable injury. The gap between Ling Xiao and Demon King Yuanlu was too big. It was so big that even with the Extreme Emperor's aura, there was no way to make up for the gap between the two. Even if Ling Xiao had an incomparably strong will, when faced with such a scene, he felt despair. He could not see the slightest hope of escaping. Ling Xiao's face was incomparably pale. After losing a large amount of life source, even the recovery of his physical body had slowed down a lot. However, his body was as straight as a pencil, like an unyielding divine sword, as if he was going to pierce through this part of the sky. Buzz! The time compass and the wordless heavenly book lit up at the same time, blooming with immortal light, and blocked in front of Ling Xiao. 12 divine rings revolved around him, and at the same time, a vast yin and yang energy guided the time compass and the wordless heavenly book. With these two supreme treasures as the foundation, they turned into a dazzling barrier that enveloped Ling Xiao. The time compass and the wordless heavenly book. Ha ha ha. Ling Xiao, not bad. I like these two treasures very much. In return, I will give you a quick death. Demon King Yuanlu's eyes also lit up, revealing a trace of cold killing intent. Even if he was an imperial emperor expert, in the face of the time compass and the wordless heavenly book, he was tempted. An extreme emperor weapon and a legendary chaos treasure. If Demon King Yuanlu could obtain these two treasures, not only would his battle strength skyrocket, but he would also have the hope of peeking into the great emperor realm. He thought of the peerless genius of the human race thousands of years ago, the great Void Emperor, who possessed the good fortune jade disc and was able to kill a demon emperor. Perhaps he also had the chance to reach that realm. At the thought of this, even Demon King Yuanlo's heart was burning with passion. Rumble. He struck out a palm, and the huge demonic palm contained a power that could destroy heaven and earth. With a loud bang, it slammed into the transparent barrier. Buzz. The barrier emitted ripples like water waves, but the huge energy was dissolved by the wordless heavenly book and the good fortune jade disc. Within the barrier, Ling Zhao's face turned paler. However, he did not look at Demon King Yuanlu. Instead, he waved his sleeve and released Jin Se. Jin Se's body emitted a faint light, and the qi of yin and yang revolved around her. It was as if she had fallen into a strange state of enlightenment and had yet to awaken. Ling Zhao stared at Jin Se in a daze, as if he wanted to imprint Jin Se in his soul and engrave her in his bones. At this moment, it was as if Demon King Yuanlo's attack was no longer important. The trembling barrier was no longer important. The stars in the sky were no longer important. The billions of lives were no longer important. In Ling Zhao's eyes, there was only Jin Se. Chapter 2368. The wordless heavenly book and time compass were like the two fishes of the yin-yang taiji diagram. They carried the yin-yang and carried the yang, forming a transparent boundary around 10 feet wide. Like a bubble, it shone brightly under the dark starry sky, protecting Ling Zhao and Jin Se within it. Rumble. Every attack of the Demon King of Yuanlu contained the power to destroy heaven and earth. When it hit the boundary, it exploded with terrifying waves, like a violent storm that wanted to destroy everything. Ling Zhao's life had already become one with the boundary. He used the yin-yang secret technique as the foundation, the 12 sky skills secret technique, the wordless heavenly book and the time compass to form this life boundary. He was completely using his life as the price to maintain the boundary. Every attack of the Demon King of Yuanlu required him to consume 100,000 years of his life to maintain the boundary, so his face became paler and paler. In the end, it was as white as a sheet of paper. But at this moment, Ling Zhao had already disregarded his life and death. His eyes were all on Jin Se, filled with endless emotions and expectations. He did not know where the feelings came from, but they were deep. At this moment, Ling Zhao seemed to be in a trance, thinking of the scene when he first saw Jin Se 10,000 years ago. Jin Se, I may not be able to wait until you wake up, Ling Zhao muttered to himself, the corners of his mouth rising slightly, revealing a smile. Jin Se was sitting cross-legged in front of him. Her brows were lowered, and her eyes were slightly closed. There was a faint smile at the corner of her mouth. Her face was flawless, and there was a kind of soul-stirring beauty. She seemed to be immersed in some kind of dream. Her aura was getting stronger and stronger, and there was a kind of saintly aura spreading out, causing her to undergo the final transformation. Ling Zhao wondered if Jin Se was having the same dream as him at this moment. Jin Se, what I'm thinking about the most right now is the first time we met at Gemini Mountain. You were gentle and elegant, with a faint smile on your face. You called me Big Brother, Ling Zhao softly. That was the happiest time of my life. Unlike now, where I'm sitting right beside you, but you don't know me at all. There was a trace of bitterness at the corner of Ling Zhao's mouth, and his eyes were slightly blurred. You waited for me for 10,000 years. In that colorless sea of chaos, your hair turned white, your clothes were red like blood, and your hair was white like frost. I don't know what allowed you to persevere. My heart aches. Every time I think about it, I regret it and blame myself. If it was possible, I would even be willing to exchange with you and wait for you for 10,000 years. Jins, do you know? I have been reborn, and all my beliefs are because of you. You are the one who has supported me, and you are the only power that has supported me throughout these long years. I'm very glad. The heavens have given me a second chance at life, a chance to find you. Even if I have to break through the cycle of reincarnation and traverse the heavens, I will still find you, my zither. Jins, do you know? After reincarnating, I met many people. The old goat, Taoist Wu Yang, Phoenix Lady, Moon Goddess, and of course, that joker Zhao Ritian. They have warmed me, and I am grateful. I swear to protect all the people I love and those who love me. Of course, there is also Shui Wei. Ling Xiao mumbled to himself. He didn't know if Jin Se could hear him, but he wanted to pour his heart out to Jin Se like this. He wanted to tell Jin Se about his longing, his experiences, and his everything. His face was sometimes smiling, sometimes sad, sometimes pained, sometimes agitated. Against his pale face, it made one's heart ache even more. When he mentioned Jin's, Ling Xiao could not help but pause. Jin's, do you know? I have never thought that anyone would be able to enter my heart, because it only belongs to you. Therefore, no matter if it is Phoenix Lady, Moon Goddess, or anyone else, I understand their feelings, and I am grateful for their special treatment. However, I cannot accept them, because I only have you in my heart. But Shui Wei is different. At first, she was just a maid by my side. She was the one who treated me the best, and I felt pity for her. However, I never thought that I would be so important in her heart, even more important than her life, more important than her everything. Ling Xiao's gaze trembled slightly. He could vaguely see that elegant woman in white clothes. She was pure and beautiful, with a beautiful smile. She stood by his side, timidly calling him young master and smiling at him. I remember that in the sea of reincarnation, she jumped into the sea of reincarnation to save me. I also remember that in the realm of reincarnation, she fought for me. I remember that in the realm of reincarnation, she came out of the realm of reincarnation to fight against strong enemies for me, and she did not hesitate to be heavily injured. I also remember that outside the ancient land of primal chaos, she almost died for me. Jin's, how could I not know her feelings? I am not a block of wood, I can feel it, but I can only have a heart of stone. I told myself that I only have you in my heart, and I also told her that I only love you. Therefore, how could I not know that she was sad and heartbroken several times? Her feelings for me are too strong. What have I done to deserve her to think so highly of me? However, I don't know when, but she has silently taken up residence in my heart. She is very, very heavy. Ling Xiao's expression was pained, but also relaxed and relieved. Jin's, I don't know if you can hear what I'm saying. However, these are the words that have always been in my heart. If I don't say them today, perhaps I won't have another chance in the future. Shui Wei's feelings, I can't repay her in this life. If there is a next life, I will repay her. However, my dearest Jin's, I can't let you die. You have to live. In this life, I won't let anyone hurt you. Not gods, not saints, not monarchs, not even great emperors and all the other worlds, can't. Ling Xiao smiled. His eyes were already wet with tears, blurring his vision. However, there was an unimaginable determination in his voice. Boom! 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 Demon Monarch Yuanluo's attack was able to shatter the surrounding starry sky and annihilate endless space. The boundaries shook violently, and even with the wordless heavenly book and time compass, these two supreme treasures, it seemed that they could not withstand it. Most importantly, Ling Xiao's lifespan was almost completely depleted. Come! Demon Monarch Yuanlu, I am not afraid of you. However, no one can hurt my Jin's, no one. Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a trace of madness as he roared at Demon Monarch Yuanlu. Ignorant ant, I can see the despair and madness in your eyes. However, you know nothing about power. What can you change? Demon Monarch Yuanlu smiled faintly. He did not care about Ling Xiao's roar at all, and continued to attack Ling Xiao with his palm. At this moment, what Ling Xiao and Demon Monarch Yuanlu did not notice was that Jin's fingers trembled slightly, and a crystal-clear teardrop fell from the corner of her smiling eyes. Chapter 2369. Rumble. Divine light blotted out the sky as a fierce battle unfolded in front of Jin Se. That familiar figure was still standing in front of her, shielding her from the wind and rain, blocking all difficulties for her. The blood all over Ling Xiao's body began to burn fiercely. His remaining life source began to transform into his greatest battle prowess, augmenting his body. The wordless heavenly book was like an eternal sun, drawing energy from the endless space-time and pouring it into Ling Xiao's body. The wordless heavenly book seemed to have sensed the danger Ling Xiao was in, and began to erupt with all its might. Wang! The time compass soared into the sky, releasing a dazzling light that shrouded Jin Sei's body. The surrounding space-time was distorted, and a mysterious river of time vaguely appeared. The time compass was about to open up a space-time passage to escort Jin Sei out of here. Trying to leave. Wishful thinking. Demon King Yuanlu sneered. A huge palm print fell from the sky, containing a monstrous demonic light and baleful aura, completely shrouding Ling Xiao and the time compass. Demon King Yuanlu's palm contained an extreme emperor's aura that could destroy everything. It was ferocious and domineering, causing the space-time passage formed by the time compass to tremble violently. Demon King Yuanlu, your opponent is me. Ling Xiao roared, his eyes filled with cold killing intent. His body began to expand, and a terrifying golden divine light exploded. In an instant, he turned into a golden giant that was tens of thousands of feet tall. A golden divine dragon coiled around his body, and his arms held the sky as he collided with Demon King Yuanlu's palm. Rumble. Heaven and earth trembled, and the surrounding starry sky began to shake. Ling Xiao and Demon King Yuanlu's palms collided, and suddenly, a huge shockwave swept out. The surrounding huge stars were hit by the shockwave, and immediately shattered into pieces. Although the space-time passage formed by the time compass trembled violently, it did not shatter in the end. Roar! A terrifying dragon roar rang out. Ling Xiao's blood qi was torrential as he merged with the golden dragon around him, exuding a boundless draconic aura that was ancient and mysterious. It was as though he was the reincarnation of the ancestor dragon of the primordial era. Stretching out his powerful draconic body, he lunged towards Demon Lord Yuanlu. Ling Xiao, do you think you can hurt me after burning the last 1,000,000 years of your life? How childish. Let me tell you, not only will you die, even the woman you want to save will die today. Demon King Yuanlu sneered. Although he was entangled by the golden dragon, his expression was incomparably cold, as if he did not care at all. Whoosh! He pointed out with his finger and instantly, the surrounding space trembled. Boundless starlight gathered and transformed into an incomparably dazzling ray of light. Its speed was extremely fast and it instantly landed on the time compass. Boom! Suffering such a fierce attack, the time compass began to tremble violently. Runes exploded and the surrounding spacetime began to distort. The spacetime tunnel formed by the time compass exploded. Although Jin Sei did not suffer any injuries under the protection of the time compass, she had completely lost her chance to escape. Demon King Yuanlu, I will indeed die today. However, with an emperor accompanying me in death, Ling Xiao will have no regrets. Ling Xiao's cold voice rang out, containing a kind of determination and madness. Hearing Ling Xiao's words, Demon King Yuanlu suddenly felt that something was amiss. Without thinking, a terrifying emperor aura erupted from his body. The incomparably huge golden dragon trembled violently. In an instant, dense cracks appeared like a spider web, as if it would explode at any time. Rumble. However, within the golden dragon's body, a resplendent sun bloomed with dazzling light. Its aura began to surge crazily, like a volcano that was about to erupt. This made Demon King Yuanlu feel a fatal danger. Ling Xiao, are you crazy? You! How could you? How dare you self-detonate the wordless heavenly book? Demon King Yuanlu roared, his voice filled with exasperation and fear. Boom! 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 He crazily attacked the golden dragon that was coiled around his body. Palm prints and fist auras were unparalleled, smashing the dragon's scales into a bloody mess, almost turning it into dust. However, with the support of the wordless heavenly book, the golden dragon seemed to have become incomparably sturdy, and Demon King Yuanlu could not break it open for a while. Demon King Yuanlu did not expect Ling Xiao to be so crazy. He actually wanted to self-detonate the wordless heavenly book. What was the wordless heavenly book? It was one of the legendary 10 Great Chaos Treasures. Each of the 10 Great Chaos Treasures was created by the heavens and earth, and contained secrets that would make great emperors go crazy. If the primal Chaos Treasures were to self-detonate, even a great emperor would probably die from the explosion. Although the current wordless heavenly book was incomplete, Demon King Yuanlu was not a true great emperor. He did not have the confidence to face the self-detonation of the wordless heavenly book. Demon King Yuanlu, die with me. Ling Xiao's incomparably cold voice rang out. Within the body of the golden giant dragon, Ling Xiao's figure seemed to have appeared. Under his activation, the wordless heavenly book seemed to have completely melted. It was like a sun that had reached the end of its life. With a loud bang, it erupted, shrouding him and Demon Lord Yuanlu within. Jin Sei, you must live on. You must live on. The moment the wordless heavenly book self-detonated, Ling Xiao's gaze fell on Jin Sei in the distance. His eyes were filled with endless longing and reluctance. Jin Sei had a very, very long dream. In the dream, she suddenly recalled everything. She recalled the first time she met the young man at Gemini Mountain. The young man's shy and delicate face, the young man's clear eyes, and the trace of throbbing in her heart. She recalled the young man's unparalleled talent. He grew from an orphan to the world-renowned sky-devouring supreme. The young man who had always stood by her side, sheltering her from the wind and rain, and treated her as his own life. She also recalled the sudden grievous news of the young man's death. She almost fainted, but in the end, with her inner perseverance and stubbornness, she waited for the young man for tens of thousands of years. She also recalled that tens of thousands of years later, when she was besieged by the demon gods and narrowly escaped death, it was that figure who appeared again. He saved her, loved her, and protected her. After tens of thousands of years, she knew that he was still him. Everything in the past surged like a tide. She had forgotten everything and everyone, but she could not forget that young man. Jin Sei used the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram to devour Lord of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires Tao of 7 Emotions and 6 Desires. After fusing it with the Tao of Great Oblivion, she finally broke through to the realm of great emotions. Naturally, she underwent the saint tribulation and became a saint. But in that mysterious breakthrough, Jin Sei seemed to feel that someone was whispering in her ear, telling her something. That intense longing spread in the depths of Jin Sei's heart. Unknowingly, her eyes were wet, and tears of lovesickness slid down her cheeks. She vaguely felt that she was about to lose the most important thing to her. She struggled with all her might, wanting to shout, wanting to wake up from that mysterious breakthrough. Boom! Jin Sei suddenly opened her eyes. In front of her was the last scene of Yuanlu Demon Lord and Ling Xiao being engulfed by the terrifying storm of the wordless heavenly book's self-detonation. Brother Ling Xiao. Chapter 2370. When Jin Sei saw Ling Xiao's eyes, they were filled with longing, reluctance, anticipation, and blessings. Her heart ached so much that she couldn't breathe. Jin Sei, you have to live on well, Ling Xiao's voice still reverberated in her ears, causing her to fall into a daze. Wang. The Chronos compass sprinkled down sparkling light, forming a mysterious time boundary that protected Jin Sei within. She didn't suffer any harm. Jin Sei stumbled, her face filled with incomparable grief. Her face was pale, and her entire body began to tremble. Big brother Ling Xiao, why didn't you wait for me? I remember now, I remember everything now. Why did you leave me alone? Jin Sei sobbed softly, but her voice was completely drowned out by the loud noise. The wordless heavenly tome was a chaos treasure. In the past, Ling Xiao would only be able to borrow a little of its power, but he wouldn't be able to make it self-destruct. However, after Ling Xiao had obtained the 12 heaven arts and used it to condense his Tao fruit and become a saint, the wordless heavenly book had completely merged with Ling Xiao. He had complete control over it, and it was like a part of his body. This was why Ling Xiao was able to make it self-destruct. Even Yuanlu Demon Lord hadn't expected this. Rumble. The self-destruction of the wordless heavenly book was even more terrifying and shocking than the explosion of the sun. A huge black hole appeared in the vast starry sky. Endless divine light radiated in all directions, sweeping away the starry sky within a radius of millions of miles. Whether it was the stars, the sun, or the asteroids, they were all reduced to dust. Time and space twisted, the laws of the great Tao crumbled, and chaos filled the air. It was like the end of the world. This kind of terrifying self-destruction was enough to completely erase all matter. Even a saint wouldn't be surprised. Big brother Ling Xiao, you definitely won't die. We've overcome so many difficulties. There's nothing in this world that can defeat you, Jean Sei muttered to herself, and tears fell again as she spoke. She recalled all the things that had happened to her and Ling Xiao after she lost her memories. She was both regretful and sad. Her voice trembled slightly, as if she was trying to convince herself of something. Swoosh! 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 At this moment, a series of powerful sonic booms came from the void, emitting an unfathomable aura. Lu Bai, Han Yuanzi, Samsara Temple Master, and Extermination Path Master had arrived. Zhao Ritian, Shui Wei, and Feng Qingyang had also arrived. Jince, are you alright? When Tao Lord Extermination saw Jean Sei, a look of concern appeared in his eyes. He walked to Jean Sei's side and asked. Jean Sei was her personal disciple, so she was naturally very satisfied with her. Not only did Jean Sei possess the supreme Taoist physique, but she also possessed extremely high attainments in the supreme unruffled emotions path. She was seen as the future successor of the supreme Taoist palace by Tao Lord Extermination, so there was naturally no room for failure. Jean Sei shook her head and didn't say anything. Her gaze was fixed on the spot where Yuanlu Demon Lord and Ling Xiao self-destructed, waiting for a miracle to happen. Sister Jean Sei, where is young master? Shui Wei's face was slightly pale, but she still asked Jean Sei. She also saw the terrifying explosion and the incomparably huge black hole in front of her. She seemed to have thought of something, and her body staggered a little. Jean Sei's gaze fell on Shui Wei, and after a while, she said sadly, Brother Ling Xiao activated the wordless heavenly book to self-destruct in order to save me. He wanted to perish together with Yuanlu Demon Lord. Before Jean Sei could finish her words, Shui Wei's face was already pale. She suddenly looked at the terrifying divine light vortex in the distance and understood everything immediately. Young master will be fine. Young master won't die, he. Shui Wei's voice was hoarse, and she couldn't finish her sentence. Her beautiful eyes instantly turned red. She stood silently beside Jean Sei, and like Jean Sei, her gaze fell on the distant starry sky, waiting for a miracle to happen. Yuanlu Demon Lord. Damn it! Why is he here? Lu Bai's expression was extremely solemn, and his eyes were filled with incomparable rage. Yuanlu Demon Lord was famous in the demon realm. He was extremely ferocious and powerful, and his hands were also stained with the blood of the human race. His name was enough to stop children from crying at night. Even Han Yuanzi, Samsara Temple Master, and Extermination Path Master's expressions changed. Could Ling Xiao survive a battle between a peerless imperial emperor and such a peerless expert? Why is that bastard Ling Xiao so reckless? Why didn't he wait for me to come? So what if he's an imperial emperor? I, Zhao Ritian, really want to see how strong Yuanlu Demon Lord is. Zhao Ritian's eyes were also filled with anxiety. Everyone knew how mysterious and powerful the wordless heavenly book was, and they also knew how powerful the explosion of the wordless heavenly book would be. From the chaotic black hole in the starry sky and the endless chaotic laws of the great Tao, it could be seen that it was enough to destroy and annihilate everything. Rumble. At the same time, a few powerful auras swept across the sky from the demon realm. Their bodies exuded a monstrous demonic light, and their eyes were filled with cruelty and coldness. Those few figures were also almighty experts of the Saint King realm. The Saint Kings of the demon realm and the human race faced each other under the starry sky. However, they were extremely restrained and did not engage in a battle. After looking at each other coldly for a while, their gazes fell on the divine light storm in the distance. Soon, the terrifying shockwaves from the explosion of the wordless heavenly book began to dissipate slowly. The divine light in the void dispersed, leaving behind an incomparably huge black hole. Then, it began to shrink slowly. Under the inertia of the world, the space gradually recovered. Whoosh! At this moment, a figure quickly swept out from the black hole and appeared in front of everyone. Yuan Lu Demon Lord. Lu Bai and the others were shocked. They had never thought that Yuan Lu Demon Lord would still be alive after the terrifying explosion of the wordless heavenly book. At that moment, however, Demon Monarch Yuan Lu appeared incomparably wretched. Both his arms had been reduced to smithereens and cracks could be seen all over his body. A small portion of his body appeared to have been sliced apart by a blade. His fleshly body was already on the verge of destruction. His aura was also extremely weak. A cracked shield floated above his head, and his eyes were filled with unconcealable fear. Where is Brother Ling Xiao? Where's young master? Chapter 2371. Ling Xiao had completely disappeared. Under the dark starry sky, Demon King Yuan Lu was left in a sorry state. He had suffered unimaginable injuries, but he was still alive. Ling Xiao. Ha ha ha. Of course he's dead. He detonated the wordless heavenly book and still wanted to live. Dream on. Demon King Yuan Lu laughed maniacally, completely shattering Jin Sei and Xue Wei's hopes. No. Brother Ling Xiao won't die. He said he would wait for me to come back. Brother Ling Xiao, I have regained my memories. I remember everything. Come back quickly. Jin Sei shouted at the endless starry sky. Her beautiful face was filled with tears and her shoulders were trembling. Her voice was so sorrowful that it would move anyone who heard it. Young master. Young master, Xue Wei's eyes dimmed instantly. Her face was pale as she muttered to herself. She looked like she had lost her soul and tears blurred her vision. The miracle that they had been waiting for did not happen. Ling Xiao detonated the wordless heavenly scripture. Under that terrifying force, the void shattered into a black hole. The laws of the great Tao were completely shattered. As for the shield treasure above Yuan Lu Demon Lord's head, it was at least a powerful quasi-emperor weapon. But now, it was on the verge of destruction. Ling Xiao had been completely obliterated. Demon King Yuan Lu, you deserve to die. Lu Bai's eyes turned red in an instant, revealing an extremely cold murderous intent. His white robe fluttered in the wind as the celestial emperor's seal spun in the air like an ancient mountain, illuminating the endless darkness of the starry sky and pressing down on demon monarch Yuan Lu. Ling Xiao's death had completely enraged Lu Bai. Ling Xiao shouldn't have died in your hands. You don't deserve to. Since he's dead, you should accompany him. Zhao Ritian's expression turned serious, which was rare for him. Sword will rose around him, and the heavenly Tao Emperor's sword instantly gave off an unparalleled radiance. It split into tens of thousands of sword lights in the void and shot towards Demon King Yuan Lu. The Heavenly Emperor's seal and the Heavenly Emperor's sword, the two great Tao Emperor weapons, exploded at the same time. 3,000 great Taos began to tremble violently. The vast starry sky shook and an aura of destruction spread out. Damn it! Demon King Yuan Lu's expression changed immediately. His eyes were filled with horror and dread as he retreated rapidly. His current state was too weak. Even a sage might be able to kill him, let alone two extreme Tao Emperor weapons attacking at the same time. How dare you! You dare to face Demon Monarch Fu Yuan Lu in front of us? Do you think there's no one in the demon realm who can do it? The saint rulers from the devil world all shouted coldly. Rumble. At this moment, two bright lights flew out from the devil realm and turned into a blood-red flag and a small black pagoda. They exuded a vast emperor's aura and instantly flew towards the Heavenly Emperor seal and the Heavenly Emperor sword. It's the Blood Hell flag and the Undying Tower. Dao Lord Extermination's eyes flashed sharply as he recognized the origin of the two Supreme Emperor weapons. This region of the starry sky was close to the Devil Domain and could be considered the Devil Domain's home ground. The wordless Heaven Book's explosion had naturally alerted many Devil Domain's almighties. Hence, when the Heavenly the Arch Seal and Heavenly Dao Emperor's sword made their moves, two great Apex the Arch weapons immediately came forward. Boom! Boom! The four great Apex the Arch weapons clashed under the starry sky and let out a deafening sound that caused the sky to tremble violently. The bright divine light dyed the darkness into daytime. You despicable and damned humans! Wait till I recover from my injuries, I'll settle the score with you. Demon King Yuanlu glared at Lu Bai and Zhao Ritian with hatred. He took the opportunity to perform a teleportation technique and was about to fly towards the devil world. Brother Ling Xiao is dead. You'll be buried with him. Jean Sei suddenly said indifferently. There was no emotion in her eyes. Resplendent light bloomed from her palm. The time compass instantly turned into a stream of light and pressed down on Demon Lord Yuanlu. Ling Xiao had already left the inheritance of the time compass in the time compass and was prepared to hand it over to Jean Sei. Hence, Jean Sei could already control the power of the time compass. Buzz! The vast power of time exploded. Demon King Yuanlu's body shook and he was instantly fixed in the void. It was as though he was frozen and could no longer move. His eyes were filled with terror. This was the time compass's time-stop domain. Demon King Yuanlu could have easily broken free from it if he was at his peak. However, he was unable to resist the vast power of time in his current state. How dare you! The Saint Kings of the Devil race were shocked. They immediately leaped up and performed powerful techniques. Their Saint Aura soared and they wanted to kill Jean Sei. At this moment, Dao Lord Extermination naturally could not sit by and watch them attack Jean Sei. A cold light flashed in his eyes and vast Dao will rose around him. It turned into a huge black and white Tai Chi diagram in the void and blocked in front of Jean Sei. Demon bastards, what's the point of bullying a junior? Let your grandfather teach you how to behave. Hun Yuanzi and Samsara Temple Master sneered and attacked at the same time. Rumble. Saint Kings were the strongest experts in the world. Each of them had monstrous combat strength and could control the power of the Great Way. Every move they made contained the power to destroy heaven and earth. The battle between the Saint Kings of the human race and the Saint Kings of the devil race caused the surrounding space to shake and stars to shatter in their battle. At this moment, the time compass struck Demon King Yuanlu's body with extreme speed. Boom! Demon King Yuanlu exploded into a bloody mist in the void. Even his primordial spirit did not have time to escape. His essence blood was completely devoured by the time compass. An Imperial Emperor expert had died at Jean Sei's hands just like that. The Saint Kings of the Devil race were all stunned. Every Imperial Emperor had the potential to become the legendary Supreme Emperor. They were the seeds of the Supreme Emperor, candidates for the Crown Prince, and peerless experts in the world. If the Supreme Emperor did not appear, the Imperial Emperors would be the strongest. However, who would have thought that Demon King Yuanlu would die in such a humiliating manner? First, he was severely injured by the explosion of the wordless heavenly book. Then, he was killed by the time compass. A hole has been pierced in the sky. We must leave this place quickly. Hun Yuanzi and Samsara Temple Master looked at each other and saw the seriousness in each other's eyes. The death of Demon King Yuanlu would definitely make the entire devil world go crazy. They killed Demon King Yuanlu. They must die. As expected, the eyes of the Saint Kings of the devil race turned red. Their bodies were filled with murderous intent as if they had been injected with chicken blood. They charged toward Lu Bai and the others. Chapter 2372. Let's leave this place first. Lu Bai and Zhao Ritian looked at each other and made the decision at the same time. Since Yuanlu Demon King had died at Jin Sei's hands, there was no need for them to continue fighting. This was the home ground of the demon world. If they continued fighting, they might be in danger of being wiped out. Let's go. Hun Yuanzi, the Samsara Temple Master, and the Tao Lord of Extermination all nodded. They immediately erupted with extremely great power and forced back the demon Saint Kings. Afterwards, they shifted into the distance. Jin Sei, what are you doing? Come back quickly. Annihilation Path Master's expression changed suddenly. He saw Jin Sei holding the time compass and exuding a mysterious light. She was walking slowly into the depths of the starry sky, surrounded by mysterious ripples of spacetime. Master, please allow me to be willful just this once. I'm going to look for Big Brother Ling Xiao. I'll definitely find him in all the mountains and rivers. I'll definitely find him. I will. Jin Sei smiled at Annihilation Path Master. Her smile was faint and it made one's heart ache. Silly girl. But Ling Xiao is already dead. Annihilation Path Master's heart softened. He laughed bitterly and shook his head. However, Jin Sei's gaze was resolute. She looked at Annihilation Path Master seriously. The time compass suddenly emitted a dazzling light and swept Jin Sei up, disappearing into the starry sky. Young Master, Shui Wei's body trembled. She wanted to say something, but Samsara Temple Master seemed to have sensed something. He swept Shui Wei up with his sleeves and teleported into the distance. Although the demon world was seething with anger because of Yuanlu Demon King's death, the demon race Saint Kings could not wait to tear Lu Bai and the others into pieces. But with Lu Bai and Zhao Ritian protecting them, the two of them took out the Heavenly Emperor's seal and Heavenly Emperor's sword to block the terrifying attacks of the demon race Saint Kings and escape unscathed. The news of Ling Xiao exploding the wordless Heavenly Book and killing Yuanlu Demon King quickly spread throughout the realm of the gods. It even spread to the other worlds, shocking everyone. Ling Xiao is so unyielding. He caused the wordless Heavenly Book to explode and perish together with Yuanlu Demon King. What a bold move. But this time, the chosen one of our human race has fallen. Will the providence of the Heavenly Tao continue to favor our human race? Although it is a great loss for the devil realm to lose Yuanlu Devil King, the significance of the chosen one to the human race is not something a mere Yuanlu Devil King can compare with. AI, isn't that so? Ling Xiao possessed extraordinary talent and peerless natural talent. Not only had his body attained the Saint Realm, he'd even attained the Saint Realm in heart energy, the laws, and the soul core, allowing him to attain the unprecedented 4 Saint Realms. With the cultivation of the Saint Realm, he could slaughter a supreme saint and battle a Saint King. Perhaps only the 9 emperors of the human clan can be compared to such a person, right? If Ling Xiao hadn't died, he might have become the 10th emperor of the human race and lead the human race to a new era. In my opinion, other than the devil race, the ones who are the happiest about Ling Xiao's death are the immortal Holy Lands and the Supreme Monarch race, right? They attacked Ling Xiao for their own selfish interests and disregarded the righteousness of the human race. They are not fit to be called humans. Shoo. Hush. Do you want to die? Those immortal Holy Lands and the Supreme Monarch race rule the realm of the gods. If they hear you, you're finished. The human race has no hope. The news of Ling Xiao's death caused the entire realm of the gods to fall into a sorrowful mood. Perhaps many people had not seen Ling Xiao before this and did not know about his past. However, after the battle at Ling Xiao Mountain, Ling Xiao had used his strength to win the respect of everyone. Many people even saw him as the hope of the human race. After all, Ling Xiao was the chosen one of this era and had received the blessing of the Heavenly Tao. As long as he did not die in the future, he was destined to become a peerless figure like the 9 emperors of the human clan. Now, he had fallen before he had even grown up. Countless people in the universe were shocked by this news. Those who liked and admired Ling Xiao were naturally incomparably sorrowful. However, those who were afraid and jealous of Ling Xiao were incomparably elated. They celebrated and clapped their hands in joy. War God Temple. Rumble. Huge bolts of lightning descended like dragons and landed on a bronze-skinned man. His muscles were firm and his blood was monstrous. His entire body exuded a dignified and mysterious aura. This was a saint tribulation. That man was Pangu's celestial handle. Pangu's celestial handle exuded a monstrous baleful aura. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. He leaped into the sea of lightning and punched out like a dragon, constantly shattering the lightning tribulation. Then, he opened his mouth and swallowed it all. Such a terrifying saint tribulation did not cause him any harm. Instead, it became nourishment for him to prove his Tao and become a saint. Soon, Pangu's celestial handle passed the saint tribulation. Strange phenomena descended from the sky, golden lotuses sprouted from the ground, and flowers fell from the sky. His entire body began to emit a vast saint aura. Grand Elder, from today onwards, I will guard the War God Temple for the Temple Master until he returns. I don't believe that the Temple Master will die. No one can kill him. Pangu's celestial handle leaped to Lu Wenjing's side and said seriously. The news of Ling Zhao's death had already spread to the War God Temple. Pangu's celestial handle did not make it to the Battle of Ling Zhao Mountain because he had to go into seclusion to break through after coming out of the Chaos Ancient Land. He was vexed and angry. He wished he could fight alongside Ling Zhao, but he also knew that the most important thing now was to protect the War God Temple. Ling Zhao was no longer here, but the War God Temple could not fall. Celestial handle, I also believe that junior brother will return. Lu Wenjing's eyes turned slightly red as he sighed softly. Everyone found it hard to accept such an outcome. In their hearts, it was as if no one could defeat Ling Zhao. Ling Zhao could not possibly die. However, the soul lamp Ling Zhao left in the War God Temple had been extinguished, which completely shattered everyone's hopes. After Lu Baiyu returned to the War God Temple, he immediately went into seclusion. The entire War God Temple was filled with a sorrowful atmosphere, but at the same time, there was a burning flame of hatred. It was hatred towards the immortal sacred grounds, the supreme monarch clan, and the demon race. The disciples of the War God Temple began to gather together, and they began to cultivate and grow crazily. The Heaven's Choice Convention ended, and the news of Ling Zhao's death spread throughout the God Realm. At the same time, many peerless geniuses in the God Realm began to prove their Tao and become saints. After experiencing the baptism of the Heaven's Choice Convention, they all obtained many opportunities and fortunes, which made up for their lack of foundation, allowing them to prove their Tao and become saints. It was as if a golden era had opened. Countless peerless geniuses appeared and competed with each other. It was like the peak of prosperity before the arrival of destruction. More and more peerless geniuses appeared in the human race. Chapter 2373. Soaring Cloud Mountain Range. A three-legged golden crow shrouded in flames was flying towards them. After the battle in Soaring Cloud Mountain Range, a few mountains had been destroyed, causing the already chaotic laws to become even more chaotic. Strong winds blew, destroying endless vitality, leaving only bare mountains. Void cracks could be seen everywhere, and one could be swallowed by the void cracks if they were not careful. The three-legged golden crow was shrouded in golden flames. It looked ancient and mysterious, and its sharp eyes were emitting a fierce aura. On top of the three-legged golden crow stood a tall and handsome young man in golden armor. His body was glowing, and his aura was like that of an emperor. He had an aura that made people submit to him. Second uncle, why did you bring me to Soaring Cloud Mountain Range? Zhao Ritian asked curiously. Your cultivation has reached the extreme state of a half-step saint, but your foundation is not enough. Unlike Ling Zhao, you did not obtain the heavenly fate. So, even if you become a saint, you'll only be an ordinary saint. The Lingshao mountain range is the ruins of the heavenly palace. There is a secret realm here, which is a fragment of the untainted land. If you can cultivate in it, you will be able to accumulate supreme fate and creation in just a few decades and become an invincible saint. Second uncle said seriously. Chaos fragment? I didn't expect there to be such a place in Soaring Cloud Mountain Range. But second uncle, I believe that Ling Xiao is not dead. Zhao Ritian said slowly. Are you sure? Ling Xiao self-destructed the wordless heavenly book. Even an emperor could not withstand that kind of power. I'm afraid he's already dead. Second uncle sighed softly. I don't know either. But I have this intuition. Whether Ling Xiao is dead or not, he was killed by those shameless saint lands, emperor families, and demons. I won't let them go. Zhao Ritian's face revealed a rare serious expression, and his eyes were overflowing with killing intent. Ling Xiao, perhaps he was destined to face such a calamity. His brilliance was too dazzling. The tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. His mistake was to offend those people when he was not strong enough. If he had the cultivation of a heavenly emperor, even if he overturned the world, who would dare to say a word? Second uncle said slowly. Second master, I've finally seen it clearly. The so-called great calamity of an epoch, the so-called change in karmic luck, was not the abandonment of the human race by the heavenly Tao, but the human race's self-destruction. By now, these decadent human beings only knew how to scheme against each other, eliminate the dissidents, and scramble for power and profit. They were all a bunch of bullies. How could they still have the courage to fight against the heaven and the earth like their ancestors? Although I don't have the same talent as my father, if I become the emperor in the future, I will definitely kill all those scum of the human race and rebuild the human race. I've never believed in destiny. I only believe that man can conquer the heavens. Zhao Ritian sneered coldly. His words were loud and clear. The second uncle fell silent. However, he seemed very pleased. It was as if he could see the shadow of the celestial emperor in Zhao Ritian. Perhaps, there was still hope. Good. Let's take it one step at a time and cultivate in the chaos fragment. The second master's voice was a little agitated as he said to Zhao Ritian. Chirp. The three-legged golden crow seemed to have sensed its master's state of mind. It let out a piercing cry as it spread its wings and shot towards the depths of the Lingxiao mountain range like a bolt of golden lightning. Demon Realm. The old goat and Taoist Wuliang were listening to the report of a burly man below with ashen faces. Young master, this is what happened. In the end, Sir Lingxiao detonated the wordless heavenly book and severely injured Yuanlu Demon King. Yuanlu Demon King also died in the hands of Saintess Jin Se of the Supreme Taoist Palace. The burly man said respectfully. Boom. The black hair on the old goat's body seemed to have exploded. In an instant, a monstrous demonic aura erupted, causing the surrounding void to tremble violently. Demon race. Demon race. I will not live under the same sky as you. The old goat roared. His eyes were red as he soared into the sky in an instant. The huge stone hall exploded with a loud bang. Not only the demon race, but those bastards from the divine realm must also pay the price. Taoist Wuliang followed closely behind the old goat. His eyes were filled with cold killing intent. Rumble. At this moment, the wind and clouds in the sky raged. The void trembled and finally turned into a huge palm print. With a slap, it slapped the old goat and Taoist Wuliang down from the void. Master, why did you stop me? The old goat did not suffer any serious injuries, but his face was bruised and swollen from the fall. He got up and said angrily. Boom. The demonic light that filled the sky dissipated. A mountain goat with pure white hair appeared in the void. It was over 30 kilometers tall like an ancient mountain, and there were 2 golden horns on its head that seemed capable of holding up the heavens and the earth. Its eyes were dazzling and resplendent like the sun, and they contained an ancient, dignified, and mysterious fluctuation. It was as if there was a vast chaotic void around it that could devour everything. It was extremely terrifying. It was the old goat's master, the famous monarch Tunshin of the demon realm. Greetings, monarch. After the monarch Tunshin appeared, all the demon experts below, regardless of whether they were demon deities or demon saints, bowed down. Their eyes were filled with reverence as they bowed respectfully. The monarch Tunshin might not be the strongest in the demon realm, but it was rumored that he was the oldest living old monster in the demon realm. And the only pure-blooded Tautais left in this world are you and me. With your weak cultivation, can you defeat the demon saints and demon kings of the devil world, or the sage kings and emperors of the god world? The monarch Tunshin spoke in an old and gentle voice. I don't care. I want to avenge Ling Xiao. I want to kill them. The old goat said stubbornly. I'm afraid that even if you die, you won't be able to kill many people. You'd better enter my devouring world and hone your character. When you can fight with your own strength, I won't stop you anymore. The monarch Tunshin said slowly, then waved his sleeve. Suddenly, the void in front of him split open, revealing a mysterious world. The chaotic light rose and instantly swallowed the old goat. Monarch, Taoist Wuliang saw the monarch Tunshin's gaze on him and was shocked. He quickly cupped his hands and said, I have some ties with the Tao race, so I naturally can't watch you die. You should go with an into the devouring world to gain experience. Chapter 2374. In the Devil World. Yu Meng looked at dark Ling Xiao in front of her, her eyes full of anxiety. After they returned to the Devil World from the chaotic ancient land, their cultivation had advanced by leaps and bounds. They had both reached the peak of the half-saint realm and stepped into the third heaven realm. So, they went into seclusion together to prove their Tao and become a saint. However, when Yu Meng saw that dark Ling Xiao was about to break through, he suddenly fainted. His breath became extremely weak, and his spirit was almost completely dissipated. Yu Meng almost thought that dark Ling Xiao had gone mad. She was extremely worried. I can't let others know about this. Yu Meng thought to herself. The Dark Devil sect wasn't as calm as it looked on the surface. Although Dark Soaring Sky's combat strength was extraordinary, there were also many talented disciples in the Dark Devil's sect who were extremely jealous of Dark Soaring Sky. If they knew about Dark Soaring Sky's current state, it was hard to guarantee that they wouldn't have any bad thoughts. Yu Meng was now dead set on following Dark Ling Xiao, so she was thinking about him everywhere. Now, I can only go to Mother. Yu Meng thought of the current sect master of the Dark Devil sect, her mother Yu Luo Sha. Soon, Yu Luo Cha arrived at the place where they were cultivating in seclusion. Yu Luo Sha was wearing a black dress, and her figure was graceful. Under the light veil hid a body that could make people's blood boil. Every step she took, she exuded a charm that could make people's hearts sway. Meng, why did you call me? What happened to Dark Ling Xiao? Yu Luo Sha asked, her eyes falling on Dark Ling Xiao. Yu Luo Sha was also very concerned about Dark Ling Xiao. After all, Dark Ling Xiao had the Dark Saint body. If he grew up, he would at least be a Saint King expert. He was also extremely important to the Dark Devil sect. His body is extremely powerful, and there is no damage. His life origin is vast and boundless, no worse than the life origin of a saint. But his spirit is about to completely dissipate. What's going on? Yu Luosha's eyes showed an extremely surprised look. Mother, you must save brother Dark Ling Xiao. Did he go mad while cultivating? Yu Meng's eyes had a trace of anxiety. Don't worry, I'll check why he fainted. Light flashed from Yu Luosha's glabella and a stream of light immediately shot into Dark High Firmament Sea of Wisdom to investigate his current situation. Rumble. In the dark sea of consciousness, his originally powerful soul actually began to disperse into streaks of light. It became weaker and weaker, as if it would collapse completely at any time. Yu Luocha actually sensed a familiar aura from the primordial spirit of darkness soaring skies. Is it him? Yu Luocha's heart stirred. Mother, how is brother Ling Xiao? Yu Meng asked worriedly. Don't worry. He was in too much of a rush to break through, so he went berserk. I will treat him personally. You should leave this place first and protect me from outside. Yu Luocha said with a faint smile. All right. Yu Meng quickly nodded. She was slightly relieved. With Yu Luocha's help, Darkness Ling Zhao's life would be saved no matter what. After Yu Meng left, Yu Luocha waved her sleeve. Suddenly, an extremely powerful barrier enveloped the secret room. I really didn't expect this. Ling Zhao, you actually hid such a big secret. I didn't expect that the chosen one, Ling Zhao, would have a demon doppelganger. I'm afraid no one would have thought of this. Yu Luocha stared at Dark High Firmament and sneered. She had discovered Dark High Firmament's secret. Although Dark High Firmament's aura was completely different from his original body, their primordial spirits were of the same origin. Now that Dark High Firmament's primordial spirit had collapsed, his original appearance was instantly revealed. Yu Luocha instantly recognized that the fluctuations of Dark High Firmament's primordial spirit were exactly the same as Ling Zhao's. This meant that the disciple of the Dark Demon sect in front of her was the same person as the chosen one, Ling Zhao. Originally, there were many people in this world with the same name and surname. Yu Luocha did not connect Dark High Firmament with the chosen one, but she still discovered Dark High Firmament's secret. That Ling Zhao obtained the inheritance of the Flowing Time Great Emperor and the secret of the wordless heavenly book. Perhaps you have this part of the content in your memory. If I devour your primordial spirit, I might be able to obtain the secrets of the Flowing Time Great Emperor and the wordless heavenly book. How can a Chaos Supreme treasure be so easily broken? The fragments of the wordless heavenly book must be scattered all over the world right now. If I obtain the secrets of the wordless heavenly book, I might be able to control this Chaos Supreme treasure. Yu Luocha stared at Dark High Firmament and said with a hint of passion in her eyes. Although she was a woman, in terms of talent, wisdom, and means, she was not inferior to a man. She also had ambitions and wanted to become a peerless great emperor who dominated the world. Although Yu Luocha's cultivation was now at the Saint King realm, she did not know how long it would take for her to break through to the Imperial Emperor realm, let alone the legendary Great Emperor realm. Without great opportunities and great perseverance, one could not break through. The Flowing Time Great Emperor and the wordless heavenly book were the greatest opportunities and opportunities. Buzz! Yu Luocha's glabella shone brightly and a powerful primordial spirit instantly shot towards Dark High Firmament's glabella. Now, because Ling Zhao had detonated the wordless heavenly book, Dark High Firmament's primordial spirit was constantly collapsing. If she wanted to obtain the inheritance of the Flowing Time Great Emperor and the secret of the wordless heavenly book from Dark High Firmament's primordial spirit, she must first stop Dark High Firmament's primordial spirit from collapsing. Rumble. Yu Luocha's primordial spirit appeared in Dark High Firmament's sea of consciousness, exuding a vast and unparalleled saint aura. As she chanted scriptures, runes flew towards Dark High Firmament's primordial spirit. Those were the purest primordial spirit energy and merged with Dark High Firmament's primordial spirit like divine chains of order, sealing his primordial spirit. Dark High Firmament's primordial spirit trembled. Although he was still in a deep slumber, as if he had eaten a great tonic, his primordial spirit energy began to be sealed and his aura gradually stabilized. I'd like to see what's in your primordial spirit. Yu Luocha's eyes revealed a trace of anticipation. Her primordial spirit flew directly towards Dark High Firmament's primordial spirit, wanting to devour his primordial spirit and memories. Rumble. Just as Yu Luocha was about to completely occupy Dark High Firmament's sea of consciousness, Dark High Firmament's primordial spirit began to tremble violently. An ancient, mysterious, and vast aura rose from it. Chapter 2375. Boom! Yu Luocha's soul basically shattered in an instant, while the strand of origin demonic chi entered Yu Luocha's sea of consciousness in an unstoppable manner. Yu Luocha's body shook, and her face turned pale. In her knowledge sea, dark demonic light surged. From the endless darkness, a mysterious, dignified, and ancient figure vaguely appeared, exuding a vast emperor aura. It had an invincible aura that could dominate the heavens and earth, and sweep across the heavens and earth. It was like an extremely ancient great emperor. Yu Luocha's primordial spirit seemed to be frozen, and it instantly froze in the void, as if it was no longer under her control. Yu Luosha was a Saint King realm super expert, and also the sect master of the Dark Demon sect. Her cultivation was unfathomable, but now she could not even think of resisting this figure. Buzz! Yu Luosha's primordial spirit instantly bloomed with bright light, and a white jade bottle appeared, exuding an extremely vast energy fluctuation, and collided with the figure in front of her. The Great Tao Bottle. This was the cornerstone treasure of the Dark Devil sect, a flawless apex emperor weapon, the Great Tao Bottle. It contained an incomparably terrifying strength. It was said that if a sovereign monarch was sucked into the Great Tao Bottle, they would instantly turn into pus. Yu Luosha felt an irresistible danger, so she did not hesitate to summon the Great Tao Bottle. The Great Tao Bottle bloomed with bright runes, and an extremely powerful suction force came from the bottle's mouth. It was like a black curtain that covered the sky, enveloping the entire knowledge sea, and wanted to swallow the figure directly. Boom! A simple palm print swept across the sky, and the Great Tao Bottle trembled violently. All the runes around it suddenly exploded, and then flew back into Yu Luosha's primordial spirit, as if they did not cause any harm to the figure at all. The figure was incomparably calm. Although Yu Luosha could not see his face clearly, she could feel from his deep eyes that he had absolute confidence in controlling everything in the universe. Swoosh! The figure took a step forward, and directly pointed at Yu Luosha's primordial spirit. Who are you? Why is it hiding in Ling Xiao's body? Yu Luosha cried out in both surprise and anger. Her eyes were filled with disbelief, and her heart was filled with extreme fear and terror. The figure in front of them was too strong. He managed to push back the Great Tao Bottle with a single slap. That supreme monarch weapon didn't seem to be able to injure him at all. Could it be that he was a true supreme monarch? However, the figure did not say anything. His finger moved as fast as it could, landing on Yu Luosha's forehead in an instant. Her body trembled violently and her soul weakened in an instant. Whoosh! That figure took advantage of the opportunity to close in and fuse with Yu Luosha's soul in an instant. Yu Luosha saw the true appearance of the figure the moment it fused with her Yuan spirit. She immediately became extremely shocked. Ling Xiao. What she did not expect was that the peerless expert in front of her, who was suspected to be the ancient emperor, who possessed an invincible aura, was actually Ling Xiao. However, she no longer had the chance to think because the figure had completely fused with her Yuan spirit. Yu Luosha's primordial spirit instantly had a very strange feeling. Her Yuan spirit was heating up as if it was being burned by a strange emotion. Her entire body felt warm as if she was in a hot spring. That strange feeling spread throughout her body, causing her to heat up. It was as if the emotions in the deepest part of her heart had been aroused. She couldn't help but moan. Hot, Yu Luosha's body trembled slightly. She couldn't help but tear her clothes apart, revealing a perfect body that could drive anyone crazy. She then walked towards Ling Xiao, who was in the darkness. At the beginning of the primordial age, chaos was like a chicken. A giant opened up the sky, dividing the clear and turbid qi, establishing the Tao of yin and yang. Negative yin and embracing yang, rushing qi to achieve harmony, the scripture rang in Yu Luosha's ears like a huge bell, causing her body to emit a mysterious Tao rhythm. Very quickly, Yu Luosha hugged Ling Xiao, and the two bodies intertwined together. The scene was very seductive, and the air was filled with an aura that made people lose their minds. After some time, Yu Luosha looked at Ling Xiao in front of her. Her eyes were filled with complicated emotions. Ling Xiao's aura had become extremely stable. Although he still hadn't woken up, he seemed to have fallen into some kind of Tao comprehension state. His extremely weak Yuan spirit also began to gradually strengthen. Yu Luosha's eyes were filled with shame, anger, murderous intent, and various other emotions. However, in the end, they only turned into a sigh. Thinking of the madness just now, Yu Luosha wanted nothing more than to cut the guy in front of her into 1,000 pieces. Her absurd time with Ling Xiao had allowed her arcane yin saint body to be fully unleashed. She had saved Ling Xiao from the brink of death and had paid an enormous amount of arcane yin origin to gradually heal Ling Xiao's injuries. Yu Luosha was both embarrassed and shocked by what had just happened. She was a saint king, but Ling Xiao hadn't even broken through to the saint realm. Who was the figure in Ling Xiao's consciousness? Why did it look exactly like Ling Xiao? That figure made Yu Luosha feel despair. Even her Great Wei bottle didn't have any effect. Yu Luosha wanted to kill Ling Xiao several times, but she couldn't do it. Part of the reason was that she was afraid of the figure in Ling Xiao's consciousness. More importantly, she suddenly felt that there seemed to be a strange feeling in her heart toward Ling Xiao. Yu Luosha didn't dare to think about it anymore. She felt that if she continued to stay here, her Taoist heart might soon collapse. Whoosh! Yu Luosha opened the boundary and instantly flew out of the secret chamber. She looked like she was running away. Mother, did you save brother Ling Xiao? Yu Meng, who had been waiting outside the secret chamber, couldn't help but ask. As soon as she saw Yu Luosha appear, her eyes immediately revealed a look of great surprise. Ah! He's already recovered. Mother still has something to do, so I'll leave first. Yu Luosha didn't even dare to look at Yu Meng, She casually found an excuse and then directly flew away. Strange, what's wrong with mother today? Yu Meng, glanced curiously at Yu Luosha's back. Suddenly, she remembered that Ling Xiao was fine now. She immediately put everything behind her. Her eyes revealed a look of great surprise as she flew into the secret chamber. Chapter 2376. Snow fell from the sky and the world was covered in silver, leaving only a vast expanse of whiteness. In the distance, the rolling mountains were all covered in snow. Among them, there was a huge snow mountain that pierced the sky like a divine sword, as if it was the center of this world. A woman in a red dress with a beautiful face and jade-like skin was exuding a peerless aura. She walked barefoot on the snow mountain towards the peak of the snow mountain. Her white hair fluttered in the wind and she exuded a tired aura. She held a black compass tightly in her hand. It looked simple and mottled, with mysterious runes intertwined on it. It emitted a lustrous light as if it was pointing the way. When she reached the peak of the snow mountain, the lustrous light emitted by the black compass instantly dimmed. It seems like brother Ling Xiao is not in the snowfall realm. The woman in red lowered her head in disappointment. She could not hide her disappointment. She was Jin Se. The snowfall realm was the 19th world she had searched, but she still could not find Ling Xiao's whereabouts. The battle between Ling Xiao and Yuanlu Demon King was extremely tragic. In the end, Ling Xiao detonated the wordless heavenly book to save Jin Se. Yuanlu Demon King was severely injured and died in Jin Se's hands. However, Jin Se was unwilling to believe that Ling Xiao was dead. Therefore, she was determined to search the universe to find Ling Xiao's whereabouts. After killing Yuanlu Demon King, Jin Se used the time compass to shatter his primordial spirit and found part of Yuanlu Demon King's memories. Ling Xiao detonated the wordless heavenly book. The terrifying explosion caused a space-time tunnel to appear in the starry sky. Ling Xiao and Yuanlu Demon King were sucked into the space-time tunnel. Fortunately, they were only attacked by the chaotic space-time. The timeline was not completely chaotic. Otherwise, Ling Xiao and Yuanlu Demon King would have been killed. And the region where Ling Xiao had disappeared in the end was the thousands of worlds surrounding the snowfall realm. In addition, the time compass could still sense Ling Xiao intermittently. Therefore, Jin Se chased him all the way here. Jin Se searched more than 10 worlds but did not find any trace of Ling Xiao. The snowfall realm was the 19th world. Brother Ling Xiao, wait for me. I will definitely find you. After that, light flickered around her and she disappeared from the snowfall realm. Although Jin Se was already a saint, her cultivation level was not enough for her to break through the world barrier and roam the primal chaos void. However, with the help of the time compass, there were many more possibilities for her to explore the myriad worlds. Even though Jin Se would be affected every time she broke through the world barrier and would inevitably be injured, she didn't care at all. Clear Spirit Realm, Profound Origin Realm, Raging Flame Realm, Frost Realm, Jin Se traversed world after world. Under the guidance of the time compass, she wanted to find traces of Ling Xiao. The myriad worlds in the universe were as numerous as the sands of the Ganges, and there was simply no way to measure them. There were boundless worlds like the immortal world, the devil world, and the demon world, and there were also mediocre worlds and minor worlds. A minor world like the snowfall realm didn't even have a saint, and the strongest person there was only a semi-saint realm cultivation. Just like that, Jean Sei continued her search. She didn't know how long it had been, how many times she had been disappointed, but she never gave up hope. Her red clothes were like blood, and her white hair was like frost. She traversed the heavens and searched the myriad worlds just to wait for one person to return. In the end, this became an obsession in Jean Sei's heart. Endless snow, endless yellow sand, majestic rain, raging flames, monstrous thunder. Jean Sei had seen the sights of countless worlds. She saw the majestic mountains and rivers, the evolution and evolution of life, and the maturation and perfection of the world. This gave her many insights into the Tao. However, she still felt very lonely. Sometimes, Jean Sei would think, if only big brother Ling Xiao could be by her side for all of this. She even suspected that she couldn't hold on any longer. It was never disappointment that defeated a person. Instead, it was endless despair and a long, dark night that could not see the light. But Jean Sei still persevered. Heaven Prison World. This was the world that Jean Sei and the time compass had chosen once again. Heaven Prison World wasn't so much a world, but a world that was about to be destroyed. It was filled with chaos, desire, greed, cunning, and all kinds of bastards. There was no order, only endless war. Heaven Prison World was incomparably vast. It was not inferior to the greater worlds like the celestial realm and the demon realm. There were many vicious people here. It was even said that the people in Heaven Prison World were ancient gods and demons. They ate humans and drank their blood. They were cruel and bloodthirsty. There was no evil that they wouldn't do. But this time, the light shown by the time compass was brighter. This filled Jean Sei with hope again. In the sky of Heaven Prison World, there was a blood-red sun that dyed the entire sky red. It was filled with killing intent. It was said that the blood-red sun in Heaven Prison World was a supreme treasure left there by a powerful person in the ancient times. But no one knew how to collect it. Over time, people stopped paying attention to this legend. However, in the past few days, the experts in the heavenly prison court had discovered that the blood-red sun was blooming with dazzling light, and there was an extremely powerful fluctuation of life origin emanating from it. Many people thought that this supreme treasure was about to be born, so they were all eager and excited to get their hands on this supreme treasure. Kongsang Mountain was the place where the blood-red sun set. Now, many strong cultivators had appeared in Kongsang Mountain. Each of them had an extremely powerful aura and looked extremely ferocious. Their eyes were filled with greed. They were all coveting the blood-red sun in Kongsang Mountain. However, the blood-red sun emitted a torrential flame that could burn everything. Even a saint would be burned to ashes. Therefore, although many people coveted the treasure, they couldn't get close to the blood-red sun. They could only gather in Kongsang Mountain and wait for an opportunity to act. On this day, a beautiful woman in a red dress came to Kongsang Mountain. She attracted the attention of many people in Kongsang Mountain. Most of the experts in the heavenly prison court were bastards who committed all kinds of crimes, and there were very few women, let alone a woman as beautiful as Jean Sei. It was unknown how many people's eyes were filled with greed and lust. However, many people could see that this woman in red was not to be trifled with. So, they just watched her coldly. The woman in red was naturally Jean Sei. Her eyes fell on the blood-red sun. Her eyes were filled with excitement and anxiety. She had been disappointed too many times. She was afraid that she would be disappointed this time. The time compass in her hand shone brightly like a pearl. It was trembling slightly. All of this indicated that she was very likely to find Ling Xiao. Step by step, Jean Sei walked towards the blood-red sun. She didn't care about the gazes of the strong cultivators around her. All of her attention was on the blood-red sun. Chapter 2377. Who is this woman? A noble young master wearing a purple robe and holding a folding fan said with a glint in his eyes. He was in the Saint Realm and was the city lord of the Purple Thunder City in the heavenly prison court. He could feel a different aura from Jinsei, as if she was out of tune with the surrounding heaven and earth, which made him very curious. Who cares who she is? I think she's tired of living if she wants to take the heavenly prison blood sun. A burly man with bulging muscles and a huge axe in his hand sneered. He was the city lord of the mountain city, Giant Axe. He was also in the Saint Realm, and his 10 feet tall body made him stand out among the crowd. Let's see. I feel that this woman is not simple. A skinny old man with a goatee said slowly, with a hint of fear in his eyes. Fellow Taoist who, could it be that you've seen something? The Purple Thunder young master and Giant Axe's expression suddenly became serious as they looked at the old man with the goatee. The old man with the goatee was called Hu Feng, the city lord of the Fengshui city. He was also a powerful saint, but his strength was not in his combat strength, but because he was a Fengshui master. He could see through the heaven and earth, observe yin and yang, and even use everything in the heaven and earth to set up a Fengshui formation. He was always valued by the Purple Thunder young master and Giant Axe. The Purple Thunder young master and Giant Axe were good friends with Hu Feng, and this time, they joined forces to investigate the heavenly prison Blood Sunday. Although their strength was only average, they naturally had their own ideas about the heavenly prison Blood Sunday. This woman is rejected by the heavenly prison court. I'm afraid she's not from the heavenly prison court. Furthermore, she has an item on her that can easily kill us. We must not provoke her. Hu Feng said in a low voice with a serious expression. Can easily kill us? Could it be an extreme Tao Emperor weapon? The Purple Thunder young master and Giant Axe looked at each other and could not help but exclaim. It's hard to say. Hu Feng shook his head and said. Everyone was discussing, and each of them looked at Jinsei with different expressions. Looking at Jinsei step by step approaching the heavenly prison blood sun, most of them just blinked their eyes and did not do anything. After all, the heavenly prison fire emitted by the heavenly prison blood sun was too terrifying. Even saints couldn't withstand it. They were also very curious about what Jinsei wanted to do. However, the heaven prison realm was, after all, a huge prison with many lawless and ferocious chi practitioners. In the face of such a beautiful Jinsei, there were still some ignorant people who appeared. Little girl, what are you doing? The heavenly prison fire emitted by the heavenly prison blood sun is incomparably terrifying. You're such a delicate girl. If anything happens to you, we'll be heartbroken. An incomparably frivolous voice rang out, and in an instant, 3 ugly young men with the head of a snake and the eyes of a rat blocked Jinsei's path. The auras of the 3 young men were extremely powerful. They were all saints. However, their eyes were filled with greed and lust as they looked at Jinsei. It was as if they were about to spit fire. Is it them? Everyone's expression involuntarily changed, revealing a trace of a strange expression. The 3 Qi brothers, Qi Sen, Qi Lin, and Qi Mu. The 3 Qi brothers were famous bandits in the heaven prison realm. The 3 of them were born from the same mother, and all of them were saints. They were cruel and bloodthirsty, and their hands were stained with the blood of countless people. However, the 3 brothers were smarter. They would never provoke those who they could not afford to provoke. In addition, the 3 of them were powerful, so they could live freely in the heaven prison realm. Everyone did not expect that the 3 of them would target Jinsei. Get out of my way. Jinsei said faintly. Her expression was extremely calm, and she did not even look at the 3 Qi brothers. Little girl, if we don't move, what are you going to do? Qi Sen said with a slight smile as his eyes swept across Jinsei's body unscrupulously. In addition to the 3 of them being lustful, more importantly, they found that Jinsei was not afraid of the heavenly prison blood sun at all. They were afraid that she had something to rely on. They were curious about Jinsei's secrets and methods. They wanted to be the first to obtain Jin Sei's secrets, so they directly attacked Jin Sei. They could see that Jin Sei had just broken through to the Saint Realm, and there were still remnants of the aura of a breakthrough on her body. With the three of them joining forces, they could even fight against a supreme saint. Naturally, they were not worried about Jin Sei. If you don't move, then you can go to hell. Jin Sei said faintly. Her eyes finally moved away from the heavenly prison blood sun and fell on the three Chi brothers. Jin Sei's eyes were dazzling. It was as if a vast river had flown out from within, containing an unparalleled energy fluctuation. This caused the three Chi brothers to involuntarily tremble as a look of bewilderment appeared in their eyes. Boom! Jin Sei directly attacked. She stretched out her jade-like hand and the time compass in her palm slowly bloomed like a black lotus. A mysterious light sprinkled down and intertwined with the mysterious river in Jin Sei's eyes. In an instant, it was like a waterfall that wrapped around the three Chi brothers. The vast power of time bloomed, and it contained an unparalleled Extreme Emperor's aura. The three Chi brothers' faces changed instantly. Extreme Emperor's weapon? How could you have an Extreme Emperor's weapon? Chi-san roared, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. Swoosh! 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 The three Chi brothers instantly leaped up as all the hair on their bodies stood on end. They could feel an irresistible danger descending upon them. One by one, they unleashed their strongest strength and retreated backwards. However, the river of time contained the eternal power of time, and the surrounding void seemed to have solidified. The three Chi brothers' figures looked extremely slow, and there was no way for them to block the time compass. They could only watch as the time compass crashed into them. Boom! There was an explosion of blood mist in the void, and the time compass emitted a dazzling light. It was like a divine rainbow, and it directly pierced through Chi-sen, Chi-lin, and Chi-mu's chests, and sent them flying. The three Chi brothers looked as if they had been struck by lightning. Their faces turned extremely pale, and they coughed out blood. Their auras became weak. She really has an Extreme Emperor's weapon. The Purple Thunder Prince and Giant Axe looked at each other, and there was a hint of relief in their eyes. Hu Feng did not disappoint them. They could tell that Jin Sei was not to be trifled with, and that was why they suppressed their greed and did not attack her. Otherwise, they would have ended up like the three Chi brothers. Chapter 2378. Although the heavenly prison court was vast, it was just a huge prison. Not only were there countless ferocious creatures gathered here, but the heavenly Tao here was also extremely chaotic. It was like a huge whirlpool that enveloped everyone. Therefore, there had been no news of an extreme Tao monarch weapon in the heavenly prison court for many years. If someone had an extreme Tao monarch weapon, with the power of the extreme Tao monarch weapon, it was very likely that they could unify the heavenly prison court. This was not in line with the thoughts and interests of those existences. Now, the balance was finally broken. The time compass in Jin Sei's hand was so dazzling. As soon as it appeared, it severely injured the three Chi brothers and also dispelled the covetousness and greed in everyone's heart. Just when everyone thought that the three Chi brothers would die in Jin Sei's hands, Jin Sei did not continue to attack. Instead, she held the time compass in her hand and flew towards the heavenly prison Blood Sunday. In Jin Sei's view, the three Chi brothers were not important at all. The heavenly prison Blood Sun was also not important. Even the entire heavenly prison court was not important. The only important thing was the news of Ling Xiao. Buzz! The bright light was dazzling, enveloping Jin Sei. It looked ethereal and mysterious, containing the fluctuations of time. Although the heavenly prison Blood Sun was flowing with raging heavenly prison fire, dyeing the sky red as if it could burn all life, it could not do anything to the time compass. Under the protection of the time compass, Jin Sei instantly entered the heavenly prison Blood Sunday. The heavenly prison Blood Sun, this supreme treasure, won't fall into the hands of this woman? Everyone looked at each other. Although they were unwilling, there was a sense of helplessness and frustration in their hearts. In the face of an extreme Tao monarch weapon, other than Saint King's, only the legendary imperial emperors could withstand the power of an extreme Dao monarch weapon. However, it was hard to say if there were any imperial emperors in the heavenly prison court. Brother Hu, what do you think the heavenly prison blood sun is? Giant Axe asked curiously. Hu Feng thought for a moment and said, I think that the heavenly prison blood sun is not an extreme Dao monarch weapon. According to the ancient records, the heavenly prison blood sun is very likely to be the heart of a great emperor. What? The heart of a great emperor? The Purple Thunder young master shuddered as well. His eyes were filled with horror. This news was too shocking. The heavenly prison blood sun had been hanging in the heavenly prison realm for countless years. The people of the heavenly prison realm had long been used to the existence of the heavenly prison blood Sunday. Although many people thought that the heavenly prison blood sun was a supreme treasure, no one had been able to obtain it. This is just my speculation. Because according to the ancient books that I have read, the formation of the heavenly prison realm seems to be related to a great emperor in the ancient times. The heavenly prison fire that the heavenly prison blood sun emits also has some murderous aura of the living, which makes me suspicious. Of course, although I have such suspicions, I'm afraid that we have nothing to do with the heavenly prison blood sun. Hu Feng sighed and said helplessly. Are you saying that woman will obtain the heavenly prison blood sun? If I can get my hands on the heart of a great emperor, I might be able to break through to the great saint realm. Huge Axe said enviously. Look at you. If you can obtain the heart of a great emperor, you can at least directly become a saint king. Even if you touch the supreme god realm, breaking through to the imperial emperor realm is not impossible. Young Master Purple Thunder grumbled. Let's just wait and see. I have a feeling that the woman's origin is not simple. Hu Feng said noncommittally. In the heavenly prison blood sun, there was a distorted space. Streaks of blood intertwined, densely covering the surrounding void, containing a vast and violent energy, and filled with wisps of heavenly prison fire, which could burn everything, at the same time refining the vast energy in the surrounding void, causing the space to tremble slightly. It was a regular tremor, just like the beating of a heart. When Jin Se entered the heavenly prison blood sun, she instantly saw the figure floating in the void in front of her. She couldn't help but tremble, the corners of her mouth twitched, and her eyes began to turn red. It was a broken body. The whole body was covered with dense scars, like a spider web, as if it would completely shatter at any time. The filthy blood had turned black, dyeing the broken white clothes on his body black, exuding a strong smell of blood, and an indescribable tragic aura. A small half of the body was gone, and the entire body was covered in a layer of purple light. Rays of multicolored light lingered around the body, protecting it. This body was naturally Ling Xiao. The moment she saw Ling Xiao, Jin Se knew that her persistence was right. Ling Xiao wasn't dead. Ling Xiao was still alive. It wasn't a waste for her to travel through countless worlds and experience endless wind and snow to finally find Ling Xiao. The moment she saw Ling Xiao, Jin Se only felt that all her exhaustion and loneliness had completely disappeared. The great fear that constantly tormented her also dissipated. Only endless love and warmth flowed, giving her the strength to persevere. However, Ling Xiao's condition was not good at the moment. His aura was faintly discernible, and the life origin in his body seemed to have been exhausted. His life was like a candle flame in the wind, about to be extinguished at any time. However, the last trace of Ling Xiao's life was protected by the purple qi flow. At the same time, streaks of bloody light gathered in the surroundings. Streaks of heavenly prison fire turned into the purest life force and slowly merged into Ling Xiao's body. The purple current was the primordial chaos purple vapor. What should I do now? Jin Se panicked, looking at Ling Xiao in front of her. She didn't know what to do. She wanted to help Ling Xiao, but didn't know what to do. However, Jin Se could vaguely sense that Ling Xiao's current condition was very mysterious. He was neither dead nor alive, almost like a living corpse. He was only hanging on by a thread of primordial chaos purple vapor. However, his injuries were too severe. They were so severe that even if the surrounding life force surged into his body, it would still dissipate very quickly. It was as if there was an enormous black hole inside Ling Xiao's body that could devour all life. This firmament blood sun is a heart. Jean Sei's eyes flashed, and she trembled all over. She'd been curious as to why the heavenly prison fire could form such pure life force and enter Ling Xiao's body. However, as she observed the scene and space within the firmament blood sun, she suddenly realized that it was like a giant heart. Every time it beat, wisps of life force would enter Ling Xiao's body. Chapter 2379. Hongmeng purple qi circled around Ling Xiao's body, emitting a dazzling and translucent light. It contained a mysterious power, protecting Ling Xiao's body and preventing it from completely collapsing. Ling Xiao's current state was very strange. His body was covered with dense cracks, and there was still black demonic qi escaping from his body. At the same time, there was also chaotic great Tao law, the power of space, the power of time, and various other mysterious powers. This kind of power was enough to make one's scalp tingle. Even a supreme saint king would be crushed instantly if he suffered such a serious injury. It was the Hongmeng purple qi, protecting Ling Xiao's body and even his injured Yuan Shen. The heavenly blood sun was a huge heart, and it was still beating rhythmically. Every time it beat, it would spew out a majestic life force, which was absorbed by Ling Xiao's body. Is this the heart of a great emperor? Jean Sei's heart was also extremely shocked. She vaguely guessed why so many saints of the heavenly prison field coveted the heavenly blood sundae. If the heavenly blood sun was really the heart of a great emperor, it would probably make the entire heavenly prison field go crazy. And now, the heavenly blood sun had become the source of Ling Xiao's life, the foundation that maintained his life. If Brother Ling Xiao can absorb all the life force in this heavenly blood sun, then he might be able to wake up completely. This efficiency is still too slow. Jean Sei frowned slightly and thought to herself. She could tell that Ling Xiao wasn't taking the initiative to devour the life force of the heavenly prison blood sundae. Instead, it was because every time the heavenly prison blood sun's heart beat, the life force that escaped was integrated into Ling Xiao's body. But this efficiency was too low. The life force that Ling Xiao absorbed was just a drop in the ocean for the entire heavenly blood sundae. I have to think of a way. Jean Sei was slightly anxious. She guessed that the heavenly blood sun was a great emperor's heart, and there was no reason why the saints of the heavenly prison field did not know this. Now, the heavenly prison fire could barely stop those saints, but if a saint king or a legendary emperor came, the heavenly prison fire might not be able to stop them. Now, the heavenly blood sun was Ling Xiao's source of life, and Jean Sei would not allow anyone to take it away. Maybe I can try using the yin-yang tai chi diagram. Jean Sei's heart moved. Wang! Her glabella shone brightly. In an instant, a yin-yang taiji diagram that was interwoven with Tao and truth and exuded a vast emperor's might appeared in the void. The yin-yang taiji diagram was the Supreme Tao Palace's Supreme Tao Emperor weapon. The reason why Jean Sei was able to obtain the yin-yang taiji diagram was not only because the Tao Lord of Extermination valued her highly, but also because her Supreme Tao physique could form a connection with the yin-yang taiji diagram. This allowed her to refine the yin-yang taiji diagram by chance. The yin-yang taichi diagram was a supreme treasure with an extremely mysterious origin. No one even knew which great emperor it came from. However, the power of the yin-yang taichi diagram was undeniable. Legend had it that the yin-yang taichi diagram could decompose everything, return everything to chaos, and refine everything. This was similar to Ling Xiao's seven-colored heavenly light, but it was much stronger. Jean Sei was planning to use the yin-yang tai chi diagram to forcefully refine the majestic life force within the heavenly prison blood sun. Boom! 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 After the yin-yang tai chi diagram appeared, the heavenly prison blood sun seemed to have sensed something. The frequency of its beating became faster. At the same time, a chaotic energy swept over like a storm, wanting to completely annihilate Jean Sei. However, the yin-yang tai chi diagram was like an invisible boundary, protecting Jean Sei firmly within it and refining the surrounding storm. Go. Jin Sei's eyes revealed a trace of seriousness. Suddenly, the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram rose into the sky and covered the space like a curtain. The yin and yang chi intertwined, and a mysterious scene of chaos appeared. The heavenly prison blood sun began to shake violently. From Jin Sei's point of view, it was as if a huge hole had been opened in the sky. Vast and majestic energy poured down like a huge wave and was devoured by the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram. Then, it turned into the most original life force and integrated into Ling Xiao's body. Rumble. The life force within the heavenly prison blood sun seemed to be endless. In an instant, it was like a cloud, completely enveloping Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao was like a bottomless pit, constantly devouring the life force of the heavenly prison blood Sunday. Brother Ling Xiao, you must wake up, Jin Sei whispered to herself, and her face was slightly pale. Although she had become a saint, it was still too difficult for her to control the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram, an extreme Tao Emperor weapon. It consumed the power of her primordial spirit. Jin Sei stood under the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram, and her eyes instantly turned black and white. The yin and yang chi intertwined around her, blooming with dazzling light, and complementing the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram above her head. It was because of Jin Sei's supreme Tao body that she was able to fully activate the extreme Tao Emperor weapon and steal the majestic life force of the heavenly prison blood Sunday. Boom. Boom. Boom, the heavenly prison blood sun was trembling violently, like a beating heart. Every time it beat, it would release an incomparably majestic life force, but it seemed to have some sort of will of its own. Although it had not completely evolved into intelligence, it could sense the danger it was in, so it was also struggling violently. Outside the boundary around Jin Sei, the storm was vast and unparalleled, as if it could annihilate everything. It was the heavenly prison blood sun's resistance, and it wanted to completely destroy the ant that was stealing its power. Even Jin Sei could sense the heavenly prison blood sun's rage, fear, and other emotions, which made it more difficult for her to control the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram to steal the life force. However, Jin Sei did not even frown. She did not care what the heavenly prison blood sun was, whether it was the heart of a great emperor or some kind of treasure. Jin Sei only knew that the heavenly prison blood sun was Ling Xiao's life. The yin-yang Tai Chi diagram devoured the heavenly prison blood sun and turned it into a majestic life force source. It was thousands of times faster than Ling Xiao's passive devouring. Jin Sei could see that the black demonic aura in Ling Xiao's body began to dissipate slowly. The chaotic Great Tao precepts and space-time power were also gradually wiped out. Even the terrifying cracks on Ling Xiao's body became much smaller. As the life force gushed in, streams of purple light from the primordial chaos purple vapor also flowed into Ling Xiao's mouth and nose, and even fused into his glabella. Chapter 2380. Although Jin Sei didn't know what was going on in Ling Xiao's body, she could sense that the life essence in Ling Xiao's body was growing larger and larger. It was like a candle flame in the wind, gradually burning brighter and brighter. This was undoubtedly a good change. Although activating the yin-yang taijutsu was a huge burden for Jin Sei, she was still very happy to see that Ling Xiao's condition was improving bit by bit. Rumble. The cracks on Ling Xiao's body became smaller and smaller, until they completely disappeared. His skin glowed and became as smooth as jade. The black qi in his body escaped, forming a layer of cuticle on the surface of his body. It was as if he was shedding his skin, exposing his skin that was as delicate as a baby's. Lightning crackled around Ling Xiao's body as the laws of the Great Tao intertwined. Runes rose one after another, revealing an incomparably mysterious phenomenon. Boundless life force surged into Ling Xiao's body, and he slowly floated up. His eyes were lowered, and there was a faint smile on his face. Although his eyes were still tightly shut, it was as if he had completely come back to life. This change made Jin Sei even more excited. If I can completely refine this infernal blood sun, brother Ling Xiao will definitely wake up. Jin Sei whispered to herself. Although her face was pale, she couldn't hide the joy in her eyes. Phew, Jin Sei exhaled softly as her gaze became even more determined. Her forehead shone with a resplendent light. Yin and yang qi rose from her body and intertwined with the yin-yang taiji diagram in the sky, making it even more resplendent. The mysterious yin-yang taiji diagram seemed to have enveloped the entire space. It broke down the infernal blood sun and turned it into boundless life energy that flowed endlessly into Ling Xiao's body. The primordial violet qi around Ling Xiao also seemed to be fusing with him in this state. Rumble. Like the first bolt of lightning at the beginning of the world, the ancient sound of thunder resounded. Violet qi rose around Ling Xiao's body, and at the same time, chaotic light exploded. Ancient worlds actually appeared around Ling Xiao like bubbles. Those worlds were born and disappeared, experiencing the process of birth and death in an extremely short period of time. Ling Xiao's body was like the source of an eternal world, undying and indestructible. That was the sound of thunder. At the same time, it was also the sound of the blood flowing in Ling Xiao's body. It was vast and mighty like a great river that flowed endlessly, containing an incomparably boundless vitality. Bang! 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 Ling Xiao's heart began to beat, producing a powerful rhythm. At the same time, the surrounding laws of heaven and earth trembled. His bones emitted a crisp sound, like jade beads falling onto a jade plate. His meridians were trembling, his marrow was boiling, and his flesh and blood were burning like flames. Jin Se discovered that Ling Xiao's body seemed to have been reborn. He had become extremely powerful, radiating with an eternal luster. She even felt like he was indestructible. Is big brother Ling Xiao about to wake up? Jin Se's heart was filled with excitement. Her eyes were filled with anticipation. She could feel that the deathly aura in Ling Xiao's body had completely dissipated, leaving behind a boundless vitality. It was vast and unfathomable like the sea. It was even more terrifying than Ling Xiao's previous state. Ling Xiao sat cross-legged in the void. He was like a supreme great emperor who had lived through the ages and surpassed the laws of heaven. His aura was terrifying to the extreme. Heaven and earth may decay, but he was immortal. The universe may be destroyed, but he was immortal. The Taoist rhyme that radiated from Ling Xiao's body made Jin Se incomparably fearful. She was certain that after refining the boundless vitality of the heavenly prison blood sun and integrating it with the primordial purple vapor, Ling Xiao had obtained an unimaginable great fortune. Although the vitality of the heavenly prison blood sun had probably only consumed 10 or 20% of it. Jin Se was waiting for Ling Xiao to wake up. Rumble. Ling Xiao's body radiated an aura of extreme yang. It was vast and unparalleled, even more blazing than the sun. His body was extremely powerful, filled with a kind of yang qi. Even his flesh and blood began to burn. It was a kind of colorless flame that enveloped Ling Xiao's body. The fire burned fiercely as if it wanted to completely turn Ling Xiao into ashes. What? Jin Se's body trembled, and a trace of disbelief appeared in her eyes. She could see that the fire of life was burning. This was the sign that the fire of life had reached its peak and was beginning to weaken. But why was there a fire of life burning on Ling Xiao's body? Why is brother Ling Xiao's primordial spirit so weak? Jin Se instantly realized that something was wrong. In Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness, his primordial spirit looked incomparably illusory. It was like a faint shadow that could shatter at any time. Ling Xiao's body was now extremely powerful, even more terrifying than when his body was at the sage realm. However, his primordial spirit was so weak that it was even inferior to a god. It was impossible for it to control such a powerful body. This was also the reason why the fire of life was burning on Ling Xiao's body. The primordial spirit and the physical body had to complement each other. If there was a problem with either side and caused a loss of balance, terrible things would happen. But now, if the fire of life was allowed to continue burning, Ling Xiao's body that he had painstakingly recovered would not only turn to ashes, but his soul would also be completely destroyed and he would die. This was an extremely frightening situation. Yin and yang are out of balance. This is a situation that occurs when the physical body and primordial spirit lose balance. Why is brother Ling Xiao's primordial spirit so weak? What should we do now? Jin Sei's face was filled with anxiety. Yin-Yang Taiji diagram, perhaps the diagram can balance Brother Ling Zhao's problem. Jin Sei hurriedly raised the diagram. It floated over Ling Zhao's body, wanting to refine Ling Zhao's majestic vitality and nourish his primordial spirit. However, Ling Zhao's primordial spirit was too weak and could not be replenished. The speed at which his primordial spirit nourished was far slower than the rate at which the fire of life burned. The Tao of Yin and Yang. Yin and Yang are called the Tao. Yin and Yang complement each other. All living things bear Yin and embrace Yang. Jin Sei suddenly recalled the Tao and principles in the most supreme Tao scripture. Perhaps there was only one way out of Ling Zhao's current situation. Jin Sei's face instantly turned red. She looked very shy and cute, full of flirtatious charm, but her gaze became incomparably firm. Right now, there was only one way to save Ling Zhao. And that was dual cultivation. Jin Sei had the most supreme Tao body, which was the most perfect Tao body in terms of Yin and Yang. It was even more perfect than the Yin-Yang saint body. Only by using Jin Sei as a medium to guide the majestic Yang energy in Ling Zhao's body and nourish his primordial spirit would his primordial spirit be able to stop this terrifying state, even if it could not strengthen his primordial spirit to the same level as his physical body. Brother Ling Zhao, I will definitely save you. Jin Sei said softly. Her red lips were tender and beautiful, like a blooming peony. Jin Sei's cheeks were flushed red, but her gaze was resolute and serious. She slowly took off her red dress, revealing a perfect body that could drive anyone crazy. She slowly walked over to Ling Zhao. In the heavenly prison blood sun, the two bodies intertwined. Their red dresses billowed like waves, exuding the beauty of spring. Everything was frozen in time for the most beautiful moment. Chapter 2381. Outside the heavenly prison blood Sunday. Many experts of the heavenly prison realm watched Jin Sei enter the heavenly prison blood sun, but they were stopped by the heavenly prison fire. There was nothing they could do. That woman has been in the heavenly prison blood sun for several days. Have you noticed that the heavenly prison blood sun seems to have shrunk in the past few days? Could it be that the woman has completely refined the heavenly prison blood sun? Giant Axe stared at the heavenly prison blood sun and said. Since Jin Sei entered the heavenly prison blood sun, everyone noticed that the heavenly prison blood sun began to flicker, and it even made a rhythmic sound, like a beating heart. Every time it beat, it would spurt out an incomparably blazing heavenly prison fire, burning even more fiercely than before. Although the heavenly prison fire was incomparably turbulent, everyone could sense that the heavenly prison blood sun seemed to have shrunk, and the power fluctuations were also weaker. This situation made many people extremely worried, thinking that Jin Sei had completely refined the heavenly prison blood Sunday. It seems that Taoist who is right. This is really a great emperor's heart. Only a great emperor's heart can have such a terrifying power fluctuation that can keep us out. Purple Thunder young master said with a burning gaze. Whether it is a great emperor's heart or not, I'm afraid that the heavenly prison blood sun has nothing to do with us. I wonder where that woman came from. It's really enviable. Hu Feng's eyes also showed a trace of envy. He also had some ideas about the heavenly prison blood sun, but now it seemed that there was no way. Rumble. Just as everyone was discussing spiritedly, the sky suddenly split open. An incomparably huge vortex appeared, spewing out endless light. Vast and terrifying energy fluctuations radiated out, causing everyone to involuntarily tremble. A huge foot fell from the sky, and from the crack in the sky, a huge figure walked out. Endless flames rose around his body, and at the same time, there were countless roars of vengeful spirits, making him look like an emperor who walked out of hell, holding up the world. It's Saint King Fentian. Hu Feng's eyes flashed, and he couldn't help but exclaim in a low voice. Saint King Fentian. Hasn't he been in seclusion for tens of thousands of years? I heard that he went into seclusion to break through to the Imperial Emperor realm. Could it be that he has already broken through? The Purple Thunder young master's voice trembled slightly. Saint King Fentian had an illustrious reputation in the entire Heaven Prison domain. Legend has it that the Burning Heaven Saint King was originally a human from the celestial realm. He fled to the heavenly prison realm because he was chased by his enemies. However, he displayed his peerless talent and became a Saint King in just 10,000 years. He established the Burning Heaven Saint City and became one of the top 10 saint cities in the heavenly prison realm. Saint King Fentian was extremely ferocious. None of his enemies could survive until now, but he had become one of the 10 Saint Kings of the Heaven Prison Court. His strength was terrifying. Legend had it that the Burning Heaven Saint King had begun his closed-door cultivation 10,000 years ago to break through to the Emperor realm. Gradually, many people had forgotten about his existence and even thought that he had died from chi deviation. And now, the appearance of the Burning Heaven Saint King once again reminded everyone of the fear of being dominated by him. "Who dares to touch my heavenly prison blood son?" A majestic and mysterious voice came out of Burning Heaven Saint King's mouth, causing the surrounding space to tremble. At this time, everyone could see the face of the Burning Heaven Saint King clearly. It was a brawny man who was over 10,000 feet tall. His muscles were knotted together and he was filled with explosive power. His veins were bulging like coiling dragons. His face looked cold and resolute, but there was a huge scar that ran from his forehead all the way to the corner of his mouth. It was as if someone had slashed his face with a sword. His entire body was shrouded in burning flames. The flames were pure gold in color and flowed with the power of Yang. They turned into mysterious runes of law and intertwined like divine chains of order. As soon as he appeared, the godly state elites, half-saint elites, and even the saints of the Heaven Prison Court all looked insignificant like ants. He shouldn't have become an emperor yet, but there are fluctuations of a breakthrough on his body. He should have tried to break through to the emperor realm but failed. Hu Feng whispered to the Purple Thunder young master and giant axe. He was a Feng Shui grandmaster and was extremely sensitive to the fluctuations of law on Burning Heaven Saint King. He could see that Burning Heaven Saint King was still only a Saint King and not an emperor. It seems that Burning Heaven Saint King also came for the Heavenly Prison Blood Sunday. I'm afraid that the Heavenly Prison fire can't stop him. That woman is in danger. Giant Axe said slowly. The Heavenly Prison Blood Sun is destined to have nothing to do with us. The Purple Thunder young master said with a bitter smile. Burning Heaven Saint King stared at the Heavenly Prison Blood Sun with cold eyes. He seemed angry and shocked. If the Heavenly Prison Blood Sun hadn't alarmed him, he wouldn't have come out of seclusion in such a hurry. I'd like to see who dares to be so bold. Burning Heaven Saint King took a step forward. The blazing flames around his body rose, and he immediately appeared in front of the Heavenly Prison Blood Sunday. The Heavenly Prison Blood Sun spewed out vast Heavenly Prison fire. As if it had sensed the existence of Burning Heaven Saint King, it immediately spread towards him. However, the golden flames around the Burning Heaven Saint King's body were like dangerous vortexes that could assimilate everything. They completely assimilated the Heavenly Prison flame. Just like this, he walked towards the Heavenly Prison Blood Sun step by step. The terrifying Heavenly Prison fire couldn't cause any harm to him. He stared at the Heavenly Prison Blood Sun in front of him. A black jade talisman appeared in his palm. The jade talisman was also emitting a bright light at this moment, reflecting the Heavenly Prison Blood Sun in front of him. Kacha! The jade talisman flew towards the Heavenly Prison Blood Sunday. The brilliant light was dazzling. At the same time, the Heavenly Prison Blood Sun also began to vibrate. With an incomparably clear sound, an incomparably ancient door suddenly appeared in the Heavenly Prison Blood Sun, gushing out a bright light. Burning Heaven Saint King's figure instantly shot into the door and completely disappeared. In the Heavenly Prison Blood Sun, Jean Sei's cheeks were flushed. She looked at Ling Xiao in front of her, her eyes filled with satisfaction and expectation. She could see that Ling Xiao's soul had reformed into a human form. Although he still looked incomparably weak, he could barely control his abnormally powerful body. His fire of life was no longer burning. Jean Sei could feel that it wouldn't be long before Ling Xiao woke up again. At this moment, Jinsei saw a door appear in the distance. A figure with an unfathomable aura shot out from outside the door and appeared in front of her. Chapter 2382. Saint King Fentian stood in front of Jinsei, his eyes incomparably cold. His body was surrounded by golden flames, giving Jinsei the feeling that she was facing an eternal sun. That kind of aura was grand and terrifying, unfathomable. Saint King. Jinsei's eyes flashed as she said slowly. Although she didn't show it on the surface, she was already extremely vigilant in her heart. The Tai Chi diagram and time compass were trembling in her body, about to break out at any time. It was you who stole my heavenly prison blood son. You really don't know what's good for you. You actually have the legendary Supreme Tao body? Saint King Fentian sneered, his voice exploding in the void like thunder. But when his gaze fell on Jinsei's body, he couldn't help but tremble slightly. He saw the yin and yang qi flowing on Jinsei's body. That kind of perfect balance was impossible for anyone to achieve. It instantly reminded him of the legendary most supreme Tao body. A trace of greed and passion flashed in Saint King Fentian's eyes. Jinsei frowned slightly. Saint King Fentian's gaze made her very uncomfortable. She said lightly, "Your heavenly prison blood son." This heavenly prison blood son has existed in the heavenly prison realm for countless years. What does it have to do with you? Ha ha ha. How stupid. In the entire heavenly prison realm, only I can enter the heavenly prison blood Sunday. I have been waiting for the heavenly prison blood sun to mature, but I didn't expect that you two ants would be one step ahead of me. I think you are using the heavenly prison blood sun to heal this kid, right? Wait until I kill this kid, let's see what else you have to say. The burning heaven Saint King laughed loudly, his eyes full of mockery. His eyes were very sharp, and almost instantly saw through Ling Zhao's situation. He saw that Ling Zhao's physical body was extremely strong, but his primordial spirit was very weak, so he was still unconscious until now. Rumble. As soon as Saint King Fentian's voice fell, a sudden change occurred. The heavenly prison blood sun began to tremble slightly. Streaks of blood-red light filled the air, spewing out blazing rays of light. It was as if the sky was about to be completely set ablaze. The blood-red flames were flowing all around, and the void was filled with a kind of destructive aura. Ling Zhao floated in the void as streams of mysterious purple light flowed around him. At the same time, 12 ancient worlds appeared, spewing out endless multicolored light. At the same time, they gave off an extremely terrifying devouring power. Crack. The vast infernal blood sun started to crack under the influence of the purple light. Then, as if the world was about to shatter, it turned into a vast life force that surged into Ling Zhao's body. Ling Zhao and the 12 worlds behind him exploded at the same time. That terrifying power caused the burning heaven Saint King's expression to change greatly. You're courting death. The burning heaven Saint King instantly became furious, and his eyes revealed a monstrous killing intent. The heavenly prison blood sun was extremely important to him. He was already furious that Ling Zhao and Jinsei had stolen part of the heavenly prison blood sun's power. Now that Ling Zhao wanted to destroy the entire heavenly prison blood sun, he couldn't take it anymore. Rumble. The burning heaven Saint King instantly made his move in a fit of rage. Golden flames rose from his body and instantly turned into a golden palm print. It was like an immortal divine mountain as it flew across the sky to suppress Ling Zhao. Jinsei could feel that the power in the burning heaven Saint King's body was like a volcanic eruption. It was vast and endless, and the world around him seemed to be completely annihilated. This was the power of a Saint King. Jinsei could even feel that the burning heaven Saint King had reached an extremely terrifying realm even in the Saint King realm. Whoosh! Jinsei stretched out her slender hand, and the time compass silently appeared in her palm. Then, it spun in the air and turned into an ancient compass. It seemed to be able to turn the heavens, and instantly appeared above the burning heaven Saint King's head. The mighty power of time descended. It was like a long river of time was flowing, forming a chaotic time domain. It made the burning heaven Saint King's body feel sluggish. Freeze! Jinsei scolded softly. In an instant, the chaotic time domain seemed to be condensed into one. At the same time, it suppressed the burning heaven Saint King's body as if it was frozen. It was terrifying to the extreme. Yin-Yang Dragon Kill. When Jinsei took out the time compass, she also took out the Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram. The Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram floated in the sky. It was pure black and white, intertwined with Tao and truth, and emitted an eternal fluctuation. In an instant, the Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram flew towards the burning heaven Saint King. Yin and Yang Qi intertwined in the void, and instantly turned into two incomparably mysterious and ancient giant dragons, one black and one white. They intertwined and attacked the burning heaven Saint King. This was Jinsei's killing move. She used the time compass to imprison the burning heaven Saint King, and then used the Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram to perform the Yin-Yang Dragon Kill. Jinsei didn't expect to be able to kill the burning heaven Saint King in one strike. As long as she could severely injure the burning heaven Saint King, it would be enough to give her enough time to take Ling Xiao away. Damn it! Why do you have two extreme Dao Emperor weapons? Who are you? Break for me. The burning heaven Saint King's face was filled with shock and anger. Terrifying golden flames flowed around his body, and instantly turned into an incomparably terrifying energy that exploded. Previously, he was still surprised about how Jinsei and Ling Xiao entered the heavenly prison Blood Sunday. However, he didn't expect Jinsei to have the time compass and Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram, these two extreme Dao Emperor weapons. Although the burning heaven Saint King's strength was incomparably terrifying, the two extreme Dao Emperor weapons attacking at the same time made him feel a strong sense of danger. Instantly, an incomparably terrifying energy fluctuation exploded, and the surrounding time energy that was binding him shattered one by one. Burning heaven flames. The burning heaven Saint King roared. The golden flames around his body instantly rushed towards the Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram. It was like a vast sea of fire, and instantly formed all kinds of mysterious scenes, as if it was an incomparably real world. The burning heaven flames was the burning heaven Saint King's origin flame. It contained his Saint King Great Tao, and could burn the heavens and destroy the earth. It was incomparably terrifying. The burning heaven Saint King also felt the threat of the Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram, so he didn't hesitate to take out the burning heaven flames. Crack! The endless flames and the Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram instantly collided. The two huge dragons, one black and one white, intertwined with each other, and could actually disintegrate everything. They quickly disintegrated the burning heaven flames, and then turned it into a part of themselves. It was as if the Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram had directly swallowed the burning heaven flames, and then crashed into the burning heaven Saint King's body with a loud bang. Ah! Chapter 2383. Although Saint King Fantian's combat strength was terrifying, the time compass and Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram were both extreme Dao Emperor weapons. After being activated by Jinsei, a powerful extreme Dao Emperor aura burst out, making it difficult for Saint King Fantian to resist. Kacha! An incomparably crisp sound rang out. Saint King Burning Heaven's chest directly caved in. Yin-Yang Dragon Kill pierced through his chest, and directly two huge bloody holes appeared, causing Saint King Burning Heaven's entire body to fly out horizontally, coughing out large mouthfuls of blood. Jinsei's face was pale. Activating the time compass and Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram at the same time was quite a burden for her. However, there was no joy on Jinsei's face. Instead, her gaze was solemn. She saw that although the Yin-Yang Dragon Kill pierced through Saint King Fantian's chest, it did not cause much damage to Saint King Fantian. Rumble. Within Burning Heaven Saint King's body, a thunderous roar resounded. His flesh and blood glowed, and golden flames overflowed from within, dissolving the extreme power attached to his flesh and blood. Then, the huge bloody hole in his chest began to heal at a speed visible to the naked eye. Very good. You have thoroughly angered me. These two extreme Dao Emperor weapons will change owners today. Saint King Fention's expression was extremely cold. His eyes were filled with monstrous killing intent. He could already see that the heavenly prison blood sun had entered the process of collapsing. It was being completely devoured and refined by Ling Xiao. The vast life force was like a cocoon that completely enveloped Ling Xiao. Since the heavenly prison blood sun could not be salvaged, Saint King Fention's heart was torn apart. However, he was an ambitious person. He immediately stared at Jin Sei's two extreme Dao Emperor weapons. If he could obtain these two extreme Dao Emperor weapons, he would be able to dominate the entire heavenly prison world even without the heavenly prison blood Sunday. At that time, he would return to the divine world with the might of a world. He would make those who humiliated him pay 10 times, 100 times the price. You can try. Jin Sei held the time compass and the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram floating above her head. She stood in front of Ling Xiao and stared at Saint King Fentian without backing down. Rumble. At this moment, the entire heavenly prison blood sun completely collapsed. The vast energy and endless vitality were all devoured by Ling Xiao and the 12 worlds behind him. The figures of Jin Sei, Ling Xiao, and Saint King Skyburn were completely exposed in front of everyone. The heavenly prison blood sun exploded. The sudden change in the heavenly prison blood sun startled everyone. They watched as burning heaven Saint King entered the heavenly prison blood sun. They thought that the heavenly prison blood sun would fall into burning heaven Saint King's hands, but they didn't expect the heavenly prison blood sun to explode just like that. The confrontation between Jin Sei and burning heaven Saint King also attracted everyone's attention. Looks like that woman and burning heaven Saint King have completely opposed each other. Do you think that woman will be a match for burning heaven Saint King? Someone discussed in a low voice. Look! That woman, she actually has two extreme Dao Emperor weapons. Someone exclaimed, his eyes were filled with disbelief. Everyone's body trembled as they saw the time compass in Jin Sei's hand and the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram above her head. These two extreme Dao Emperor weapons were emitting vast extreme Dao Emperor aura. I'm afraid the result of this battle is hard to say. The same thought flashed in everyone's mind. Extreme Dao Emperor weapons were the weapons of great emperors, supreme treasures that contained vast extreme Dao Emperor aura. Although Jin Sei was only a saint, with two extreme Dao Emperor weapons in her hand, she could even fight burning heaven Saint King. Everyone felt that the result of this battle was full of suspense. Do you see that? There's a man in the cocoon behind that woman. His aura is flickering. I think that woman must have wanted to obtain the heavenly prison blood sun to save that man, but she didn't expect to offend burning heaven Saint King. Hu Feng's eyes flashed, and he whispered to the Purple Thunder young master and huge axe. For a man, she didn't hesitate to offend burning heaven Saint King and expose her two extreme Dao Emperor weapons. What an amazing woman. She's really worthy of respect. Purple Thunder young master sighed and said with a trace of respect in his eyes. I don't think that woman will win. After all, her cultivation is still too weak. As time passes, she won't be able to use the extreme Dao Emperor weapon. Brothers, I think this is a good opportunity. When both of them are injured, we might be able to obtain an extreme Dao Emperor weapon if we take action. Giant Axe said eagerly. His eyes were filled with excitement. That's feasible. Hu Feng and Purple Thunder young master looked at each other and felt a rush of excitement. If they could obtain an extreme Dao Monarch weapon, their battle prowess would instantly soar. Most importantly, the extreme Dao Monarch weapons usually contained the supreme inheritance of a great emperor. That was the thing that drove everyone crazy. It would lead them straight to the supreme divine realm. In their opinion, Jin Sei might really end up with burning heaven Saint King being injured. Swoosh! Just as everyone was discussing, burning heaven Saint King made his move instantly. His speed was extremely fast. He was like a bolt of golden lightning as he flew towards Jin Sei, leaving a series of afterimages in the void. Rumble! The time compass instantly smashed towards Saint King burning heaven, causing his body to explode and turn into golden flames. Jinsei's eyes flashed. She discovered that the time compass had only destroyed one of Saint King Burning Heaven's flame avatars. Saint King Burning Heaven's figure was like a ghost, leaving behind countless afterimages in the void. For a moment, she couldn't tell which was real and which was fake. Jinsei's heart slowly sank. The situation that she didn't want to encounter the most had happened. Burning Heaven Saint King had indeed discovered Jinsei's weakness. He started to surround Jinsei and didn't use his full strength. He even used his fire clones to attack. However, Jinsei had no choice but to use her full strength to deal with him. She constantly activated the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram and the time compass. It was clear what Burning Heaven Saint King was planning. He wanted to exhaust Jinsei's strength. He was like a poisonous snake hiding in the dark, waiting for an opportunity to strike. After all, Jinsei's cultivation was only at the Sage realm. There was a difference of 2 realms between her and Burning Heaven Saint King. Using an extreme Dao Emperor weapon at full strength was also extremely exhausting for Jinsei. It was like a child holding a large sword. There would be a time when she would be exhausted. Rumble. 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 Just like that, Burning Heaven Saint King kept attacking Jinsei. However, he couldn't find any trace of her at all. His speed was extremely fast. A vast sea of fire appeared in the void. Burning Heaven Saint King's fire clones kept attacking Jinsei. Jinsei seemed to have entered a state of exhaustion. No. If this continues, I'll definitely lose. I have to think of a way to bring Big Brother Ling Xiao out of here. Jinsei thought to herself. Chapter 2384. No. If this continues, I will definitely lose. I have to think of a way to bring Brother Ling Xiao out of here. Jinsei thought to herself. Her gaze fell on Ling Xiao in the distance. At this moment, Ling Xiao was still devouring the heavenly prison blood sun, but the outer layer of cocoon had begun to slowly disappear. The devouring was nearing the end. Cough. When Jinsei used the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram to chase after Saint King Fentian, her face suddenly turned pale. A trace of blood flowed out from the corner of her mouth, and her breath became chaotic. Using the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram and the time compass in succession consumed a lot of Jinsei's energy. Now, she finally could not bear it anymore. Boom! One of Saint King Fentian's fire avatars took the opportunity to slap Jinsei's back, causing her to tremble. Her body staggered as she spat out a mouthful of blood. Is that woman going to lose? Everyone could not help but be shocked. Especially Hu Feng, Purple Thunder Young Master, and Giant Axe. They originally thought that there would be a fierce battle, and in the end, it was very likely that both sides would be injured. They did not expect such an outcome. Bastard! Saint King Fentian is too shameless. Is there any meaning in bullying a weak woman like this? If he is a man, he should fight with real swords and spears. Giant Axe whispered softly, his eyes were filled with unwillingness. Purple Thunder Young Master said helplessly, there is no other way. That woman has 2 extreme Dao Emperor weapons. Saint King Fentian can only avoid them. It is understandable that he chose to fight. However, he is a Saint King. Even if he wins, he will be laughed at by others. Don't you two understand? There is no such thing as being laughed at in the heavenly prison field. It has always been the strong that is respected. Think about it, if Saint King Fentian obtains the 2 extreme Dao Emperor weapons, what will happen? Hu Feng shook his head and said. He will dominate the heavenly prison field. Purple Thunder Young Master's body trembled. This thought also shocked him. Saint King Fentian was one of the 10 great Saint Kings of the Heaven Prison Realm, the Lord of the Saint City of Fentian. If he had 2 extreme Dao Monarch weapons in his hands, he would definitely be able to suppress the other 9 great Saint Kings. Even if an Imperial Emperor appeared, he would still have the power to fight. By then, it would not be a joke for him to dominate the Heaven Prison Realm. Both the Great Axe and the Purple Thunder Prince realized the seriousness of the matter. The Heaven Prison Court had been in chaos for many years now. Every city was fighting for themselves, and all of them were vicious and unruly. Naturally, no one could tame them, and that was because there was no one who could suppress the Heaven Prison Court in terms of strength after so many years. And now, they saw hope in the burning Heaven Saint King. Therefore, we can't let Saint King Fentian obtain those two extreme Tao Emperor weapons. We have to help that woman once. Hu Feng said slowly as a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. How can I help? That was a Saint King. We don't even have a great sage among us. Huge Axe said with a bitter smile. There's always a chance. Hu Feng said noncommittally. Boom. Saint King Fentian attacked again. Taking advantage of Jin Sei's yin-yang Tai Chi diagram and time compass, he attacked Jin Sei's arm. Golden flames burned fiercely, breaking one of Jin Sei's arms, turning it into a bloody mess. Cough cough. I won't let anyone hurt Big Brother Ling Xiao. Jin Sei said softly, her eyes were filled with determination. Rumble. Her weak body straightened up again, like a divine sword piercing the sky. Yin and Yang Qi intertwined around her, and bright divine light and runes swirled around her. All of them were poured into the time compass, and then she flew towards Saint King Fentian. The vast power of time surged and became extremely chaotic. It was as if a long river of time had appeared between heaven and earth, and it directly wrapped around Saint King Fentian. You're an arrow at the end of its flight, and you still dare to show off. Saint King Fentian sneered. He could see that this was the strongest power that Jin Sei could unleash after burning her life source. If this attack didn't hit, then Jin Sei would lose all combat power. Whoosh! A golden ring rose from Saint King Fentian's body. It contained an indestructible power, and a vast extreme emperor's aura spread out. It suddenly collided with the time compass. Clang! A clear and melodious voice came from the void, and the sound waves spread out like a substance. Wherever it went, endless flames were annihilated, mountains, rivers, and trees were completely turned into dust, and the chaotic time domain around the burning Heaven Saint King was also instantly broken. As for the golden ring, it spun towards the time compass, and it contained a power that could imprison everything. That's the diamond bracelet. Giant Axe exclaimed as he recognized the origin of the golden ring. That's right. It's Saint King Fentian's natal treasure, the diamond bracelet. Legend has it that it has the power of a quasi-emperor weapon, and it can imprison all divine weapons. However, using the diamond bracelet to deal with an extreme emperor weapon is a bit too much, right? Isn't he afraid that the diamond bracelet will be destroyed? Purple Thunder Young Master said doubtfully. I'm afraid that woman is already an arrow at the end of its flight. Although an extreme emperor weapon is strong, I'm afraid it can't stop the diamond bracelet. Hu Feng said slowly. As if to prove Hu Feng's words, the time compass that was trapped by the diamond bracelet tried to resist, but it couldn't break the seal of the time compass. Clang! 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 Sparks flew in all directions in the void, and runes surged before completely shattering. The time compass struggled less and less, and in the end, it was completely trapped by the diamond bracelet. You bastard! A trace of despair appeared in Jin Sei's eyes. It was like the last straw that broke the camel's back. Her entire body trembled, and blood mist spurted out from her pores. In an instant, her body was a bloody mess. I want this Apex Monarch weapon. And the one you're wearing, and your entire body. Don't worry, I won't let a person with the supreme Taoist body die. Saint King Fentian sneered and reached out his hand to grab Jin Sei. He was extremely cautious, so after seeing that Jin Sei had become weak, he still tested her many times. In the end, when he was sure that Jin Sei really didn't have any more strength to fight, he finally made a move himself. Saint King Fentian stood in the void, and his expression was incomparably cold. He looked at Jin Sei below as if he was looking at an ant. His entire body exuded a domineering and majestic aura. A huge palm print came down from the sky, causing the surrounding sky to tremble. Rumble. Chapter 2385. Just as Jinsei was about to fall into Saint King Burning Heaven's hands, Jinsei suddenly raised her head. There was no trace of despair in her eyes. There was only determination and indifference, as well as a hint of mockery. Not good. After seeing Jinsei's gaze, Saint King Burning Heaven's heart skipped a beat. He felt that something was wrong and dangerous. Although he didn't know where the danger came from, he instantly leaped up and teleported behind him. Rumble. At that moment, a yin-yang Tai Chi diagram appeared under Saint King Burning Heaven's feet. Black and white Qi intertwined with Tao and reason, and Saint King Burning Heaven stood in the center of the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram. Yin and Yang Qi rose up and instantly formed a vast world around Saint King Burning Heaven. It was vast and boundless. Before Saint King Burning Heaven could teleport away, he was instantly sucked into it. At the same time, the time compass also shone brightly in the void. Vast Extreme Emperor's aura gushed out and rushed out from the Vajra bracelet. It rumbled and suppressed Saint King Burning Heaven in the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram. At that moment, Jinsei's aura was vast and mighty. Her life source was incomparably dense. She didn't show any signs of being injured at all. She used all her strength to activate the two Extreme Emperor's weapons and attacked Saint King Burning Heaven. It turned out that Jinsei had beaten him at his own game. When she saw that Saint King Burning Heaven wanted to exhaust her energy, she was prepared to beat him at his own game. She pretended to be exhausted and didn't even hesitate to take on Saint King Burning Heaven's probing attacks. Although she had just become a saint, she had also devoured a large amount of life force in the process of dual cultivation with Ling Xiao. Moreover, she had obtained great benefits. She had completely stabilized her cultivation as a saint, saving her 1,000 years of effort. At the same time, due to the heavenly fate on Ling Xiao's body, she had also absorbed a trace of heavenly fate. With the support of heavenly fate, it had become much easier for her to control the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram and time compass. Saint King Burning Heaven didn't know that. By the time he realized it, he had already fallen into Jinsei's trap. The yin-yang Tai Chi diagram formed a space of its own. It contained yin and yang qi that could decompose and destroy everything. Even Saint King Burning Heaven would find it extremely difficult to escape from it, not to mention the suppression of the time compass. Crack. Within the yin-yang taiji diagram, the chaotic yin and yang energies interweaved. Spatial blades, the power of laws, and even the chaotic lightning all enveloped the Burning Heaven Saint King. Around the burning sky Saint King, a mysterious scene of the creation of heaven and earth appeared. Bolts of lightning containing endless destructive power kept falling towards the burning sky Saint King. At the same time, the time compass was like a mountain as it appeared above Saint King Burning Sky. The vast power of time intertwined, causing Saint King Burning Sky's expression to instantly change. Damn it! Burning Heaven Saint King's expression was incomparably ugly. He never thought that Jinsei would actually set up such a trap for him. If they were in the outside world, he would not be afraid even if Jinsei had two extreme Tao Emperor weapons. However, he was currently trapped in the world of the extreme Tao Emperor weapons and could only defend himself passively. The true burning flames intertwined around his body, constantly colliding with the surrounding thunderbolts, shattering them one by one, completely turning them into dust. However, the boundless power of laws in the surroundings made it so that he could only deal with it tiredly. Rumble. The time compass suppressed him like an ancient mountain. The chaotic power of time made Saint King Burning Sky feel as if he was stuck in a quagmire and unable to extricate himself. Get out of my way. Saint King Burning Sky's eyes were filled with anger. He threw out a punch, and his fist was unparalleled. It was extremely ferocious and overbearing as it suddenly collided with the time compass. Boom! The time compass was sent flying by the Burning Heaven Saint King, but it also easily broke through his fist imprint, annihilated the streaks of Burning Heaven true flames, and shattered his arm, turning it into a bloody mist. Jinsei's eyes were incomparably cold. She used all her strength to activate the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram to trap the burning sky Saint King. The surrounding void shook. Every time the burning sky Saint King violently exploded, her face paled a little. The burning sky Saint King, who was trapped in the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram, also began to be injured. He suffered heavy injuries, and Jin Sei's power was also rapidly depleted. The two of them were in a stalemate. The most important thing now was to see which of the two of them would be unable to hold on. The surrounding people also saw the current state of Jin Sei and the burning sky Saint King, and all of them had different expressions in their eyes. Brother Hu, did Giant Axe really guess correctly? Are they really going to end up with both sides suffering? The Purple Thunder young master's eyes lit up as he slowly said. The Tai Chi diagram has its own space inside the Extreme Tao Emperor weapon. Even the burning sky Saint King would find it difficult to escape without special means. If that woman can kill the burning sky Saint King, then we can act according to the situation. Hu Feng said with a burning gaze. Brother Hu, I think there are some blind people who want to make a move on that woman. Giant Axe's eyes flashed. He saw that there were some people in the distance who were ready to make a move. Their eyes were filled with greed and passion. It was obvious that they were blinded by the treasure and wanted to take the opportunity to make a move on Jin Sei. How stupid. If we release the burning sky Saint King at this time, we will all die under the rage of the burning sky Saint King. We have to think of a way to protect that woman. Hu Feng suddenly sneered. Brother Hu is right. These people don't know what's good for them. If they want to deal with that woman, they have to try my giant axe first. Giant Axe said ferociously. The huge mountain-splitting axe in his hand flickered with a sharp light. Runes intertwined and rose like lightning, containing an incomparably terrifying energy fluctuation. Whoosh! Finally, someone couldn't hold it in anymore. It was an old man with a goatee. He looked very wretched, but he had the cultivation of a saint. He wanted to quietly approach Jin Sei like a ghost. Crack! Killing intent flashed in Giant Axe's eyes. In an instant, the huge mountain-splitting axe soared into the sky and expanded to tens of thousands of feet. It suddenly slashed down at the old man with the goatee. Giant Axe, you dare to block me? The old man with the goatee obviously knew Giant Axe. When he saw Giant Axe attacking him, he couldn't help but roar in exasperation. I'm not only going to block you, I'm going to kill you. Giant Axe's eyes were filled with disdain. The huge mountain-splitting axe contained the black and yellow qi, heavy and ancient. The blade of the axe flashed with a cold light as it chopped down with great force, as if it wanted to split the world apart. Madman! You're really a madman. Chapter 2386. Whoosh! The old man with the goatee knew that the battle prowess of the giant axe was incomparably terrifying, so he didn't dare to take it head-on. However, he had extreme speed, and in an instant, he turned into countless afterimages, shooting in all directions, making it impossible to distinguish where his real body was. You want to take my giant axe away? What wishful thinking! Giant Axe's mouth revealed a sinister smile. The huge mountain-splitting axe emitted a vast domain. The axe light swept through the world like a storm, instantly turning the afterimages into dust. The goateed elder's real body appeared in front of Giant Axe in an instant. Rumble! The terrifying axe light fell from the sky as if it was going to split the world. It contained an extremely terrifying power fluctuation, making it impossible for the goateed elder to dodge. Giant Axe, you! The elder with the goatee turned pale with fright as he shouted. Terrifying saintly might filled the air around him. His blood seemed to be burning as it spewed out blazing red light. He desperately struggled to break free. However, the terrifying axe light fell, covering everything and cutting off his voice. Puff! One of the goateed elder's arms was directly chopped off by the giant axe. Half of his body was about to explode. He looked extremely miserable. Giant Axe, I won't let you off. The goateed elder roared. He immediately wanted to teleport and escape. Crack! But at this moment, a blazing bolt of lightning containing endless destructive power descended from the sky, instantly striking the goateed elder's body. At this moment, he was distracted and didn't notice this lightning at all. He was directly hit and immediately trembled all over. Lightning intertwined, causing his skin to split open and even emit bursts of burnt smell. Whoosh! Amidst the purple lightning that filled the sky, the purple thunder young master instantly appeared in front of the goateed elder. He waved the folding fan in his hand and immediately, a huge head flew into the sky. The purple thunder young master's expression was indifferent, but the purple lightning around him was like a coiling thunder dragon. It contained endless destructive power and directly turned the goateed elder into dust. A saint had fallen at the hands of giant axe and the purple lightning. Everyone, don't be blinded by treasures. If you deal with that woman now and allow Saint King Fantian to escape, do you really think those two extreme Dao Emperor weapons will fall into your hands? Hu Feng also walked out with a smile and stood beside huge axe and purple thunder young master. The position of the three of them happened to protect Jean Sei in the center, preventing anyone from sneaking up on her. Seeing huge axe and Mr. Purple Thunder kill a saint so easily, everyone was shocked and angry. They were shocked by the two's power, but they were also angry that they attacked. However, after hearing Hu Feng's words, everyone calmed down. Each and every one of them had different expressions on their faces. They understood that Great Axe and the other two's words were reasonable. If they were to attack now, the one who would benefit in the end would only be Burning Heaven Saint King. Moreover, Huge Axe, Purple Thunder Prince, and Hu Feng's reputation was not small. They had always been on the same side, and could be considered an extremely powerful force. The people present were not confident that they could defeat them, so they temporarily endured. Everyone, don't worry. The three of us only want one extreme Dao Emperor weapon, and the other one will be given to everyone. However, everyone should have heard of Burning Heaven Saint King's fierce name. If he defeats that woman, I'm afraid that we... Hu Feng's eyes flashed as he said with a hint of bewitchment. Everyone's expression changed slightly, and the way they looked at Burning Heaven Saint King also changed a little. Hu Feng, Huge Axe, and Purple Thunder Prince secretly looked at each other, and they also felt a little more confident. Hu Feng did not expect that these few words could change everyone's minds, but it was enough to plant a seed of doubt in their hearts. The Heaven Prison Realm was a huge cage, and everyone here was extremely vicious. None of them were good, so naturally, it was impossible for them to trust each other. Although Burning Heaven Saint King's strength was unparalleled, there were always people who hoped to replace him. If Burning Heaven Saint King was seriously injured, there would be many people here who would be happy to hit him when he was down. With Huge Axe, Purple Thunder Prince, and Hu Feng's protection, everyone knew that they could not attack Jean Sei and temporarily calm down. However, the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram was surging with undercurrents. Rumble. Endless laws of the great Tao intertwined, and streaks of lightning rose. Chaotic mist intertwined, forming all kinds of mysterious scenes. It was like a chaotic space-time storm that wanted to destroy everything. Burning Heaven Saint King was trapped in the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram, and could only passively defend. He had even begun to fall into a disadvantageous position, surrounded by the endless law storm. In addition, the time compass was activated from time to time. Burning Heaven Saint King also suffered heavy injuries, and his heart was incomparably sullen. However, the extreme Dao Emperor weapon was incomparably sturdy, and the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram contained a perfect and balanced yin-yang realm. It was extremely difficult to escape from it. Although Burning Heaven Saint King attacked with his full strength, he did not break the spatial barrier of the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram. Instead, he suffered heavy injuries because of it. Crack. Yin and yang intertwined, like a divine chain of order, and instantly wrapped around Burning Heaven Saint King's body. It was incomparably sturdy, and he could not break free for a moment. The time compass rolled down from the sky, containing an extremely terrifying energy fluctuation, and directly blasted on Burning Heaven Saint King's head. Boom! This time, Burning Heaven Saint King was unable to resist the power of the time compass. His head suddenly exploded, and blood mist filled the air. The law swept in all directions like a storm, causing Burning Heaven Saint King's entire body to tremble violently. He had suffered an unimaginable injury. The vast life source in Burning Heaven Saint King's body surged, and in an instant, his body regrew. An incomparably terrifying energy erupted, and he broke free from the yin and yang qi, and directly flew out. Cough cough. You have completely infuriated me. Burning Heaven Saint King said slowly as he coughed up blood, and looked at the void. There was a trace of cold killing intent in his eyes. Buzz. The light in his palm was dazzling, and the black jade talisman floated out. In an instant, it shone brightly in the void. Endless great path laws intertwined, and the void inside the yin-yang taiji diagram began to tremble violently. Open for me. Burning Heaven Saint King's eyes revealed a trace of pain as he shouted. The black jade talisman exploded in the void, and the terrifying and chaotic power of law seemed to have opened a space-time tunnel, causing cracks to appear in the void inside the yin-yang tai chi diagram. Burning Heaven Saint King took the opportunity to fly out of the yin-yang tai chi diagram space.